Horror Movie Podcast, episode 187, coming
Yeah,
at you. Yeah. How we
coming at
doing?
you is right. It's it.
Yep.
Whenever we have that like a hiatus weekend, it always feels like it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. Like we used to be every second weekend. Way back in the day, that was the norm. But just in the last 2.5 years, it's been almost like 3 weekends of every month, and sometimes
Yeah.
we'll even go even longer and then take a couple of weeks off here and there when we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And when all's said and done, the fucking funniest part of last weekend is I probably could have recorded.
Ah,
When all is said and done, it probably could have recorded, but I said, you know what? I remembered you. I think had another engagement because we weren't recording. I think you're going to be doing something else, and then I said, you know
sleeping.
what? It's good because the timing I could actually go see some stuff that I usually miss
Nice.
because we podcast. So it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, no, it does seem longer. I think something that here's the thing. I think when we first started out, even though we are doing less shows, I think we were all, and I'm talking three of us, were more
Yeah.
engaged so much online, a podcast on the podcast page, doing this and that. I think you were having a stronger hand in the editing. I was doing promotion. There was a lot more hubbub going on. I think where it kind of took more of our personal time as opposed to now. Little talk here, little talk there. We watch our movies at our own time, and we meet here on Sunday. It seems like it's
Yeah.
like less effort.
Well, well, I think I obsessed with it, and then I found out that the shows really were the same one way or the other, meaning that the the listeners typically liked what we were talking about, whether it was edited with a lot extra time put into the editing, or whether I do it now, which is essentially cutting out any of those awkwardly long pauses. That's really all I do now.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean,
however, I did. For those of you that actually check out the length, the only person that I know that does this is Chris, aka Scott. I don't know what it says that about him, but or what this is about him. Excuse me. Holy shit, my brain already this morning is that last episode, so 186, the video version ran over 30 minutes longer, I think. And that's because I took a huge, I was so sick of
wow.
hearing myself talk and ramble on when we were having that discussion about trans filmmakers and everything like that. I just took it and chopped out, I guess, almost 30 minutes of that discussion. That's how much,
Wow.
I don't think it was just that, but there's a 30-minute difference in running
Interesting.
time.
I want to watch the video because I remember that being a good conversation. So I'm curious as to what
Yeah,
that
well, I
said.
just rambled on, and I'm like, you know what? Because that's what you do. You edit. You're like, make a fucking point. Because I do this all the time. My mind is already on another thought, and I haven't even finished this one. No wonder I was horrible at essay writing. You figure essay writing, at least you're getting it down on paper or in a computer, and you can go back and refine your thoughts. No, it was almost like a stream of consciousness, and editing there was even worse for me back in school. So when I hear this back, it pains me sometimes. So that I just like the quickest way to do it was I got to take this right out and just hope that the conversation still
Wow.
flows from it. So a big chunk was cut out.
Interesting. Interesting. Because again, I haven't. Here's the thing. I usually
There's a
listen.
part that you said you were anti-trans. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Dave is not anti-trans. There's none of that. It just
Shit.
those are the
No.
jokes.
What do I car? Yeah. Yeah. But those are the jokes. So what was I thinking about there? I don't know. See, there you go. And there's my problem. My mind. I have no memory. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's the same thing. I can't do anything as far as with thoughts going and everything else. And then sometimes I forget what a point that I was gonna make. And by the time somebody's finished making their point, I forgot the point that I wanted to make before that, which is why I need notes, which is so important. Like I will not do the podcast without notes, and I usually listen back, like I say, like the day before, just to refresh me on the conversations we may have had that might have been referenced, or just to go back to. And I didn't do that yesterday. I got involved in what the hell happened? I can't even remember. You know what? I was kind of bummed out a little bit. I was doing a tough book. I've been working a lot, and not, and when I say book, I mean I was reading a route, a meter reader route, but it was a very busy street on a Saturday all
It was
day,
in
and it
War
was
and
just
Peace. It was,
Yeah, I was doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a drag, man, because I've been working overtime every day in the last couple of weeks and doing this and that, a lot of work, and I've been doing podcasts on top of it and other stuff too. So I've been getting home at 6 and having to jump on at 7 sometimes, and not enough time to cook a dinner. My wife was gone for all of it. She just got home last night, so the last week or two has been a lot of work, a lot of podcasting. And the thing about the other podcasts, though, and anything else I do, they're all short form. I mean, well, not Watson. When I sit down and do a Watson, it's got to be on a weekend, and it ends up being like this. But we have recorded one recently. I don't know when it'll come out, but we do them so infrequently now. But still, when we do them, yes, that is a thing. But when I do the other show, when I do a new horror movies, it's just hour and a half here or an hour and a half there. And
You've been
there's
on two
no.
of those now or more?
Well, my official one still hasn't come out because, and I found out why, because Jay has
Unreleasable? I thought you were gonna say.
unreleasable asshole completely. No, he's doing a theme song for our segments. Everybody he wants to do a theme song. Everybody has their own segment, and like I told
Oh,
you before, like I had that slasher thing. So, and he's working on a theme song for each segment, and because he hasn't finished the theme songs yet, he hasn't put it off. So here's the funny thing: by the time it does come out, there's going to be so much of me on that show because I've recorded like 4 times with him, and nobody knows that I'm a full member. You know what I mean? Although I did post a thing the other day. How cool is that though? Jay took out a Fangoria ad
you're
for
at
me.
least 7.5.
You know?
I don't know about a full member, but at least 7.5.
But Fangoria, we're in the Fangoria magazine, the October version. I might have to buy the damn thing just to
What do you
see.
mean you're in the? What do you mean?
Yeah, there's an advertisement, man. I got to show it to you. And Jay paid for an advertisement to be in the freaking,
Awesome.
and it's not just in the magazine; it's on their socials. So on the Fangoria page for freaking Facebook,
Well,
all that
hey,
other
that's
shit.
but
The
that's
podcast
good.
is advertised. 9 hosts, this and that. He's got pictures, he's got this and that, and you know what I mean. So yeah, he's pushing on it. So we'll see. We'll
Remember
see what
that
happens.
social thing I talked about a month or two ago about that slasher network? I've been on that thing
Mm-hmm.
so infrequently. It's not good.
Oh,
Like there's
oh
nothing
yeah.
engaging. It just seems like a kind of a boring news feed, and everybody's just chipping in. And I mean, ultimately, the reason it can't really survive is because you already have this infrastructure network in Facebook. But I could see maybe
Right.
people being anti-Facebook or not wanting to be on Facebook
Yes.
going towards this. So I could see some merit in that regard, but it just doesn't seem to have the draw. It doesn't seem to. There's nothing to pull you in that makes it any different or to elevate it to make it easier to navigate through or anything. It's just kind of ho
Yeah.
hum.
That's too
So
bad.
oh well. I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
really gave it I mean, I gave it a whirl by going on, once or twice a week just to see what was going on, and it's like, this is not really engaging.
You know,
So
it's all become so boring to me. It really sucks. Like I'm really stuck in a quandary
uh,
now. Now, even though
I
I'm back to
I
Facebook, but it's boring
I
now.
know.
Which I
Well,
did
I tell you that.
honestly, I'll take
that
boring over, you know, it being unpleasant. Where because I just if I see anything I don't like, I just unfollow it or this or and of course I
yeah.
don't engage in any type of conversation. You know what I mean? People can say whatever they want to me, and if it was negative, I don't even. But it sucked because like a lot of the things that I'm into, like horror and like music, like I think I said this before, there has been toxic thing in those things. So I just actually the fish group that I was in and some of the wrestling groups I'm in, I just um I just unfollow. I just go and visit every so often, but like I used
Yeah.
to get notifications for it, but half the time I go in and it's just negative stuff, and it's just like so I just stopped seeing it if I don't like it, and I'm not into the modern product of wrestling. So that's a big problem. Is that I have there's a very strong divide in that community, and it's ridiculous. And here's the funny thing: I don't like either side. It's almost like politics. That's kind of the way I feel. I'm like I don't like WWE
About your
or
wrestling.
AEW. I don't like either thing. But I'm telling you, there's a real divide amongst the people. They want this new one to succeed. These other ones don't, and there's very few people that are like me who I'd like to say I like it all. That would be a perfect world, but instead I don't like any of it. So, but I don't have a dog in the hunt. I want them all to fail, so they have to freaking start from the ground up
A
and
dog in the
change
hunt.
what they're doing. But anyway, that's that. And
Uh,
but the other stuff has just gotten boring, and it's all the same shit. It's all the same
So
recycled stuff in the group pages when it
it,
is.
it really is, or whatever. But I don't give a fuck about any of that. There's way more important things to discuss. Like, how did you score us a screener to Terrifier 2? Was
I don't.
that through your new connection at Horror Movie Weekly, or was that because we actually finally listened? Because it seems like there was a good chunk of podcast hosts that were able to score a screener to that.
Yeah, well, that's why. See, sometimes I get stuff sent to us in the email frequently. Most of the time, I'm not interested. I look at the cover, I look at this, I do survey, I'm like, eh. But every so often, something happens and it comes across, the email, and I'm like, yeah, I'll check that out. I want to check that out. And
Well,
this one, here's the thing. It must be. Is it coming to Shudder? I'm not sure. Well, it may or may
no, no,
not
no.
be. I
It's
don't.
it's not coming to Shudder. Not at least not
Okay.
not out of the gate. It's got exclusivity on Screenbox. The other the other
Okay.
one. Don't ask me how that happened. Bloody Disgusting owns that. That's the reason why. Because Bloody Disgusting helped. It was like a backer, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. No, I
So
just responded to one that came in, and I asked them. I said, "Yes, can I get one to Terrifier 2?" Here's the thing: a lot of times I don't bother because I get this one, but every time it's offered, it's something that's coming to Shutter like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, "Well, why should I
yeah,
bother getting the screener when I could just wait till it comes on Shutter?" Or for me, I don't even bother with Shutter; it comes
yeah.
right to my MB now. Shutter's been giving me, and I'm pissed off with Shutter because every time I go on the app now, I gotta log in and reset it from the start and do this and go to my phone
Well, I've had
and
no issues
activate it
with it
again. And
lately.
I've had all these issues, and the captions are microscopic. So if you put on closed captions, they're tiny, tiny, so small you can barely see them. And I've talked to them about it. I can't get it resolved. Now I almost feel like I don't need it. And now what happens? I pay by the year. So what happens? Just a week ago, boom, I'm looking at my checking like I do every day because as I was telling you
You got
before,
billed?
it's a tight month. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at my stuff to see how much is in there. When can I write this big check? And all of a sudden, I'm like, what the hell is this? I should have more. And I look and boom, $56 or whatever it is for the year for Shutter because it's for the year. I pay it and it's cheap,
Yeah.
and I'm grandfathered in because of it. So it ends up being like $4 a month forever, and you just got to pay it all at once each year. But I didn't know it was September it came out, so I'm like, well, now I gotta fix these issues. But it's a pain in the ass because I go on my app on my TV. Like I was gonna like last night or 2 nights ago, I watched what's that movie? It's that new one, See No Evil. Okay, so I logged in to
Yeah.
See No Evil, and as soon as I went in and it said log in, I said I'm not gonna go through these steps. Let's just go to MB. I go to MB, I do the search bar, See No Evil, comes right up, and I watch the freaking movie with subs without a problem. So you know what?
Well,
Why even?
what? It's funny because Brandon thought you'd like that one. Brandon mentioned, and I said I won't think you do like it. I thought
Of
you're gonna have
course.
problems with the character decisions though.
Okay, I do have a problem with the character, and
Yeah,
I wish I could get into it detail because it's funny because I was talking to Jason and Jamie last night about it, and Brian had a big problem with that. Here's the
Brian
thing:
did have a big problem with it. I had a
Jamie did not.
some I had maybe like I'm definitely not a big problem with it. I was like, oh well, that's stupid. But and again, if I put myself in that situation, we would have been long gone. Whether or not it was to go back to get that damn stuffy, or once I had that stuffy, just hightail it in a car and get the fuck out of Dodge. But that's it. However, I still think the ending was just
Loved it.
like horrifying.
See,
Except
that was
I
it.
have so many questions. It's still as I thought about it afterwards.
I don't need them
There's so
answered.
many questions that popped up, but
See, I don't need
we
them
won't get
answered
into it
because
now.
I look at it from the perspective of the protagonist and what they come across. And, any of us can get involved in something one day, like a real life horror situation, and never have the answers. And then it end the way it ends. And I'm sure things like that happen all the time in life where you just like, oh shit, what's going on here? I
Yeah,
don't
but
know. Boom, you're dead. You never find out.
they
I'm okay with
but
that.
people knew that. I think people knew that they were at both, like the people at the restaurant, unless they were in on it. And did they explain that? Then they knew that they were there. That couple was there. Did that couple live there, or are they just hiding out in that house because it was? It seems like they used that house, unless I'm mistaken. They used that house to do this in, and
Maybe.
the people told their friends that they were going to that place to visit them. And he says,
Oh, did
"You
they?
should go. What's the worst that can happen?"
Oh,
There's a
well,
whole
then the probably.
discussion with their friends, before they go up, they're like, well, we're thinking of going up. Like, he seems really eager to go. I think she was all kind of iffy about it. And they just said, well, let's go. And the friends are like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Kind of a great throwaway line until you realize
Right, and we laughed at
what the worst that could happen is. But then also that they were aware that where they were headed. Now, I don't know if they had the exact address per se, but they knew where they were going. This restaurant would have seen them in the restaurant. So there's some things that, unless this was just like a pit stop in like the last round of the area, and then they're going to move on and take their opera somewhere else or whatever they're doing somewhere else, then there is a little bit of a loophole beyond poor decisions by
You know what?
the main characters.
That is a good point because I was gonna say maybe it was just some people are in on it and they're just using this house for this thing. But there's that one scene where something is discovered in the house, almost like a hills have eyes type thing. So no,
Yeah,
see now you good. I'm glad. See, I'm not too high. I'll just say I'm 7.5. That's as high as I'm going.
yeah,
See,
and I
I'm
was
not a
about
homer.
a 7. I was a
Yeah.
seven, not crazy. I thought the performances were actually quite good, if
Hmm.
not great. Like for this budget, taking away the decisions, which are script decisions made and forced, and again, that can be frustrating. But I thought the acting was great, and so again, there's some great weight there. I just watched that Ravens Hollow or Ravens whatever as well. I'm pretty up to speed on all the new. It just came again. I don't know if this is Canadian Shudder or what, but every week they seem to drop 2 or 3 movies. One of them at least is new, and this was the newest one that was on there. I watched it. It was again not great. It was good. This seems to be the common trait of all the Shudder movies this year, other
Hmm.
than that Watcher one, which I thought was great. But most of them are good. This one was, kind of a period piece. So they had a budget. It felt like it could have used a little bit more money put into it, but they had horses, they had this nice beautiful setting. There's the pluses of this movie without doing any spoilers whatsoever is that it has some good gory moments and some good shots. I know that's weird, but I like that from the visual
No,
standpoint.
I do
I
too. This
love
movie
that.
was shot really well too. The other one that
Yeah.
we were talking about.
So
Whatever.
there's some good shots in the movie that I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, I love that shot. But was I engaged with the story throughout? Not necessarily, but it kept me. I watched the whole thing. It was enjoyable, but it just seems to be like that seems to be the Shudder experience for the most part is 7. That 7 range,
Well, there's one
6.5 to
on there.
7.5.
There's one that's on there. It wasn't a Shutter original. At least I don't think it was. I have to look at this. So while I'm here, I'm going to get my rating for my last two, at least because I have my 2022 stuff here. I don't want to forget them because Who Invited Them I watched and I also quite enjoyed it. It was the only thing is it was
Yeah.
a little. I figured one of the twists out pretty early on. Maybe it's not it's supposed to be obvious, but whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, the way you're saying, okay, I know what's going on here. So I wish I wouldn't have done that, but again, both of those movies are my type of movies that that I love. With two couples in a small place and things fall apart and something's under the surface. What is and you have that mystery going on. I just like those type of movies. So what's the name of the movie we were just talking about? Not the one we
Well,
both
it's
saw.
funny. I was trying to get the exact title for it. I might have to go to my letterbox. I think it's
See No
called
Evil.
Ravens Hollow. Oh, See
Okay,
No Evil is the one you're talking about. I was talking about Ravens Hollow.
right, Ravens
IMDb
Hollow.
seems to be down. I've tried
Oh
2 different
wow.
browsers and it's not coming up. I wonder if it's down for you as well. I
I'll go
can't,
look in
can't
a
imagine it
second.
just to be a Canadian thing, but
I
um,
want to see if you saw this one, which is on Shudder, The Innocents.
I feel like maybe I didn't. Let me see.
Okay.
Because I remember knowing that title because I'm like, okay, because of the Innocents, but I'm like, but it's not a remake. But I feel like I may have. I'm wondering if it's not on the Canadian. If it's not on Canadian Shutter.
Oh,
Yeah, because I'm not seeing it on. I'm not seeing it on my watch list as I go through it.
okay. So it's
Um,
not on your Shudder then.
no,
Okay. Well, that's
Ravens
disappointing.
Hollow was the last one that I saw.
So you haven't seen The Innocents. See
And
that
did you
movie
guys
is
have? Do
better
you
than
guys
a
have?
seven.
Do you guys have Flux Gourmet? That was a weird one.
I haven't
Again,
heard that
questionable
title.
as what like
Haven't
that
heard.
was
I'm gonna
on
look at
there.
my Just Watch app, and that's what I do. I go to the Just Watch app. If you guys don't have it, get it. Add all the stuff you have, and then type it in the top and see where it's available. So, what's the first movie? Ravens something? Raven's
Raven's
Hollow.
Hollow. I mean, it's
2 words.
the first movie that pops up on Shudder Canada. Like it came out this week on Shudder Canada. I checked it out.
Okay,
It's
no,
just
we
shy
do
of
have
2 hours. Yeah.
we have it on Shutter here. We do have it on Shutter here, so I
Okay.
could watch that. And
Oh,
and
and
what's the other
again,
one?
it's not good shots and some good gore scenes, but again, kind of just like I I
Yeah,
I said like anywhere between that 6.5 to 7 mark for me for that, and Shutter experiences for the most part this year are between 6.5 and 7.5, with a couple of standouts that have been a bit better for me.
I've been a little higher. I think I've been a little higher. Maybe I just been a little higher. Did you see? Well, we talked about Glorious. You like Glorious, right?
Yeah. No, like I
Okay.
said, I'm happy with this year. A lot of people are complaining about this year. I'm actually quite happy
I
with the year.
I'm
You
being
say not
disappointed.
you?
No, I said
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not complaining.
Oh,
No, well, not me. Is I'm not the one
yeah.
complaining. Not me. I don't want to enjoy the
And
year. No, I
and I
do enjoy
teased
the
it
year.
and I teased it, but we kind of got off of it. And I'm not want to get. I know we're talking about two different things here, but we started with you got the Terrifier 2 uh,
Oh, we
screener.
did.
Thank you so much. It was great. You can only watch it X amount of like I think you can watch it like we're allowed like 3 or 4 watches or whatever it is.
I
But
can
there's
get more
no
when I need
thing
them.
on our email. There's no thing on our email to say you cannot talk about this film
Yeah,
until
there is.
October 3rd. Oh, there
There is.
is.
I sent you
Okay.
just the screener. See, every when I get them from
Okay.
this person, they send the screener from a different email, and they say
Okay.
then they send the correspondence from a different one. So yeah,
Okay.
October 3rd, it's an embargo and everything else.
Yeah,
So
that's because I saw
you know,
everybody else writing about it, so I'm not gonna. I won't say anything. I won't say anything else about it other than yeah, it was
you could
awesome
say
to see it. And did you watch it already, our screener? Because
no.
ev
No, I haven't had time. No.
what happens is it pops up. You know how the screeners are. It pops up and it says exploding horror heads will
Really,
pop up like a third of the way down on the left hand screen, like I don't know, like 10 times throughout the movie, and
that's amazing.
exploding horror heads.
Exploding horror heads, huh? We should get a shirt like that. And it
Yeah,
would be like horror people with their heads
yeah,
exploding. Like a Bruce Campbell, like a Robert England, and whatever. Kane Hodder.
yeah.
How about
And I
that?
don't even know if I'm allowed to say anything about it, so I won't say another word again because this episode will come out before October 3rd. So,
That's true.
um,
Well, that's good though, because I'm gonna watch it and I'll talk about it here. I'm sure I'll talk about it on the other show because after all, it's a new horror movies. So here's the good thing about that show. Again, I've said this before. I only watch what I want to watch. He'll say this movie's coming out. Like I wanted to see Barbarian because Jay loved it. He said go see Barbarian. Everyone's really talking high about it. And I was going to see it. Then the next week Pearl came out. And I couldn't see Barbarian the first week, and I said, I'm not waiting for Pearl. Matter of fact, I went to the Thursday screen, then I went again
mhm.
on Saturday. So I saw it twice, and I went there. I said, well, I'm not going to do Barbarian, obviously. I'd like to, but I can't get on that conversation. I will be there for Pearl, and I've already told them, just so you guys know, I will not watch this Monsters movie. So if we're going to do it, you guys are going to do that one without me, because when it's the Monsters movie so far, everything I've heard, it's coming off like the Psycho remake, where I never hear a good word about it. Why am I gonna put myself through that?
Except for Marco.
Oh yeah, there you go, exactly. But you know what I'm getting at? Why? What?
Yeah,
Why? I don't understand why, and everyone's different. Me, from where I said, it doesn't make any sense for me to watch something which, if I'm saying there's a 90% chance I'm not gonna like it because nobody does. Why do I think I'm gonna watch that movie and I'm gonna get something out of it besides? I'd rather watch a good movie. I would rather watch a new movie that I have good feelings about, right? Like any of the movies we've just talked about, or I'd rather go back and watch Friday 2 for the 100th time. I don't care. I would rather do that than spend
yeah.
my time with something that nobody says is good. It doesn't make this is what surprises me about horror fans, that they just all willy-nilly go to things like this. And I guess maybe they don't care, which is fine. Salute. But then like people are making posts about, I can't believe the Jeepers Creepers 4 was such a turd. And I'm thinking, I knew not to watch part 3. And I said, I don't understand what it is about my fellow horror friends that just keep going back to the well on things like this and expecting a different
Glutton
result.
for punishment.
Well,
We
I guess
It's like we
so.
have
I
to
guess.
experience it for ourselves or something like that. No,
I
no,
guess.
I want to experience this for myself. I mean, I've done it. I have done it, and I'll probably continue to do it. Do I do it with every movie? No, but I will have to check out the monsters because I have actually I actually really enjoy Rob Zombie's films for the
I
most
used
part.
to.
I'm the one on the show that seems to like the majority of his films more than not. And so, did the preview look like garbage? Yes,
That's what I
but I'm
heard.
still gonna watch the film.
Hey, be my guest. I've had it on my MB for like freaking over a week now, but it's a bit. And I was like, I told Jason about it, and Alex and Jamie, and I told them, I told you, I said, listen, I got this thing, and then all of a sudden everybody has them because everyone's getting them from different places. It's not even on Netflix at that point yet, but it seems like everybody's watching. It's
Oh,
so
because
funny
the
because
screener's out now. I know.
everybody
And
on the
everybody's
feed
like,
says,
"Yeah,
I
where
got
are you watching this?" And no one's
right,
answering the question. You're bootlegging it, you fucks. Just own up to it, at least.
right. Everybody says I have a screener. My ass, everybody. Some
Yeah,
people have screeners, sure,
yeah.
but
No one in the right mind was going to send out a screener of that movie.
and it's a Netflix movie. How often does Netflix send out screeners? Like the
Yeah.
percentage of people that probably get Netflix horror screeners, I don't know, dude. Like I don't think any
Oh,
horror podcast that I know
yeah,
would get a
I'd say
screener.
that
No.
90. I think people are watching it on MB or whatever you've got, whether that it's on someone's Plex or whether or not it's on Bflix, whatever. One of these streaming
Right.
sites that get those the once it's available, they have a digital copy for it. I would say that most of those people are liars, filthy fucking liars.
Oh shit. Bottom line, I'm
I,
not watching the
hey,
monsters.
I've done it. I've done it. But I'm just saying, own
Oh
up to the
yeah.
fucking thing at
Hey.
least. Like, hey, sometimes I can't wait. Like for Terrifier,
Wow.
you gave me the screener for. I'm like, well, it's gonna be out soon. Do I just wait? I'm like, well, hell no. I got the screener. But my mistake was seeing. I'm like, holy shit! They only gave us like a 24-hour window, and I thought it expired because I saw the 24th. 2020. I'm like, holy shit! I gotta watch this by 11:30 last night, and it's 9, and it's a 2-hour, 20-minute movie or whatever. I gotta get this on, and I put it on, and then as I texted you, I'm like, I didn't know this thing had a an expiry on it, and then I'm like, oh wait,
Amazing.
it's a month from now.
It's something I would do. Totally. And be rushing about it too. Oh
Yeah,
man, I can't even stop. I can't talk. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't answer a text.
yeah.
I
If
got
I
two
had to go to
hours.
the bathroom, I was watching it on my computer. I was gonna take the computer into the washer with me, or
Amazing.
shit my pants. One of the two. Those are the only two options at that
Now,
time.
shit your pants for Terrifier 2. Who would have thought that would be something that somebody
That's
would
gonna be on the cover art. Christian Luciani. I shit my pants watching Terrifier 2.
see? They might allow it. Shoot,
Yeah.
man. If only this would
I
happen.
almost.
You
I
know?
almost shit my pants.
Almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reason you didn't is because you were smart enough to actually be prepared and
Mud
have
flap
one of
it.
those. Yes, have a mud flap. Then you could go into the mud flap business with Terrifier 2. Put a sticker of him on there. Art the Clown
Yeah.
out one side,
Oh my.
Exploding Head
Well,
on the other.
it'd be pretty. It would be kind of like top. Like I mean, it would actually fit the movie. Is what I'm going with
Well,
based
he's
on.
involved in shit.
Yeah,
Art the
exactly.
Clown.
In well,
It's
at
his
least in the
gimmick.
original. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not saying
Plus,
anything about part two. God damn it.
that's
And
okay.
yeah, no,
I'm
I won't.
pissed.
I won't even talk about it anymore in case I don't want anybody to feel like I'm gonna somehow leak a spoiler. Because sometimes I'll talk about things thinking I'm not even spoiling it, but even your impression of something
Yeah.
might actually lead to a spoiler. Because they're whatever. So I'm going to avoid anything. But here's some other ones that you were talking about Shudder and our experience of watching. You were going to get into it. I just want to ask you quickly: did they have Nocturna on there as an option to watch?
Okay, hold on.
And I think Solemn or Solum.
Hold on. Nocturna.
Yeah,
Nocturna. Okay, let's see. No, but it's on Prime. Prime 4K even. Wait a minute.
weird.
2020. Nocturne.
NA,
Okay, hold
Nocturna,
on.
The Great Old Man's Night. Man, I think it's The Great Old Man's Nightmare, but on Letterboxd it just says The Great Old Man's Night.
Gosh, maybe
Um,
I'll try that instead. Hold on.
no,
Great
I might be
Old Man.
wrong. It might be The Great Old Man's Night. It is The Great Old Man's Night. It's Side A, which is even weirder. I guess there's going to be a follow up. There is a follow up called Side
Oh, here
B.
it is.
Funny enough, and that will be, I guess, released soon. Interesting.
It's on
Again,
Shudder.
shocking that it was on. Again, not shocking to Shudder because, like I've been saying, there are horror elements to
Yeah,
this, and it
drama,
does
it
play
says.
out like a nightmare,
Uh-huh.
but it's not a true blue horror flick. But I will tell you this: if we are going to include it in the horror realm and as a horror film, and I think you can argue that it is, no question, this old man probably is going to get my best actor award of the year. I don't know if it's what I was doing at the time of watching the movie, which sounds really cryptic and weird, but I was engaged the whole time. I didn't necessarily, it's his performance. I felt so upset for this guy. It was very upsetting. I think I actually cried twice during this movie, but I'm gonna blame that more on my substance intake whilst watching.
Happens, yeah.
So that
More
I,
likely.
I have to like, but I'm interested because I don't think a lot of people. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it. Only person is on my Letterboxd feed that had watched it that I'm actually friends with. There's other people that have reviewed it, but I think that this guy's actually on like that I'm connected to.
You know, it's weird because sometimes on Shudder movies, they come out and it's a big advertisement, like on the front page, just added or whatever, featured. And I think some of these new ones come and they don't promote them strong because they have other stuff going. And so I'm guessing that Nocturna and the other one just kind of got lost in the shuffle of
Well, there's
Shudder.
too many. They released it. They released it the same day. Like when that one came out, I think they had another one. They had that Solemn one, which is weird.
Solemn?
Again, I think that's how you say the name. It's
S-
a town or an area. It's Saloum, and
Okay,
it's
Salome.
a bizarre movie because it's like a first half
It's
is
on
a
Shudder.
totally different movie. The second half would be like a horror film. It's almost like a From Dusk Till Dawn, if you will, like where
Oh,
it's like the comparison's not about like not to a vampire extent. I'm talking about the film tone and the film sort of shifting halfway into something else.
oh,
You know
right.
what I mean? So it almost is like an action escape movie for the first half, and then it turns
Oh.
into something else in the second half. Definitely interesting to watch.
I
Um,
gotta save these on Letterbox or something because I gotta put them in my watch list because I didn't know. See what I'm saying?
yeah,
So that, but other people have seen them, so that's good. So Salome, I'm gonna call it
Salome,
Salome.
you're probably
Maybe
right.
I'm wrong. What's the other one? Nocturna.
Nocturna, Nocturna
Yeah,
Side A.
Nocturna.
Yeah, I've
Hmm.
watched pretty much if it's come out on Shudder, all of a sudden I caught up. Other than The Innocents, I guess I'll double check and make sure it's on Shudder Canada. And maybe what happened was I saw that, and unless it didn't say 2022 and it said 2021, maybe I thought I missed it from last year, and I was just trying to, not that I don't want to see it, but I was trying to make sure I saw the newer ones for sure.
And Raven's Wood is the other one.
Ravens Hollow.
Oh, no wonder. Okay. Raven's Wood.
Ravens Wood is what I
Okay.
had last night. A little hard on.
Wow. I have there's three people that watched it. You, no rating, that's the right way. 1.5 and a 2.5. Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let
So
me look at
I
that
I would
cover
say
doesn't
that
look
it
good.
I would
But
say it's closer to 2.5 might be a little low. I'd lean to the for okay. I said 6.5 earlier. I'd probably say 6 or 3 out of 5.
right.
And the 3 is because again I actually thought the acting from the main players was quite good, and for a low budget or trying to skirt around their budget limitations. I thought they did a good job, and there's some haunting gory images and some good shots. Like I said, not the whole film, but just some standout shots. I'm like, oh, that looks so good. Like
Right. Well, I'll tell you.
so, yeah.
I'll read this review. There's a review from Andrew on the on here. Okay. 2.5. The movie is fine. That's the best I can say. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just fine. It's shot okay. The look is good. The sets and costumes are good. The CGI is surprisingly decent. The effects are solid. It's an interesting concept. The movie just has no life to it. The characters are bland. The writing's bland. Acting's fine, but they aren't given enough. Given enough.
Yep. You know
Ultimately,
what?
it's a forgettable movie. That's what he said.
Okay, I actually agree with his review, but I'd probably just maybe push it to that 6 range. And I'm not going
Hmm.
to watch it again, so
Fair enough.
it's not going to make any list or whatever like that. It was but his description of it, I think
Sounds
it
okay.
sums up what I thought.
Okay.
I'd say
What
maybe
about
there's some.
Pearl?
The look is good. The look is good for the most part, and it's shot okay. I agree because there was one part my wife came in and goes, "What is this?" And she
Hmm.
goes, "It looks like shit. It looks like it's shot in shit." And that particular scene was kind of shot like shit. I don't know why they chose the angles that they chose and the editing that they chose, but for the most part, it actually looked quite decent. It had a good atmosphere. My biggest my biggest problem like with it, which is other than the story aspects that Andrew mentioned there, was that soundtrack was so generic and it was almost like that haunting. They were trying to have that haunting, forbidding, like it's almost
Yeah,
throughout the whole damn movie that it loses any weight. It just becomes kind of annoying.
yeah.
But
I could see
I
that.
still I still came out a little bit more positive than negative on it.
Okay. What about Pearl? Did you see Pearl or not?
I haven't seen Pearl. I
So what did you
couldn't
see
make it
that
out.
night?
I didn't go. I was
Oh,
telling because Jason Smith saw Pearl. He said I think he probably said it was horror movie of the year. Spoiler. So far, and I'm like, yeah, I had my chance. I was like wanting to see Jaws in 3D, Barbarian, or Pearl, and then I went out and had a steak dinner with some friends instead,
hey, that's
co-workers
okay,
and
brother.
friends.
Nothing
And then
wrong with that.
when it was done the steak and we had wine and whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm full. I'm tired, and I could go make it to a late movie, but guaranteed I'm falling asleep during it.
Ah, well, you're
So
doing that.
went back to the hotel and I just went to bed because we were at a 2 day conference. So I'm just like, yeah, that's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
the best
Well,
thing for me to do.
I'll tell you what. I loved it. I saw it twice. Obviously, it's great. Mia, people are finally gonna know her name. This seems like they do. So I'm happy. Just like the characters Pearl and Maxine. Now the world will know my name. That's how it is with Mia, and this is her best performance, and it's awesome. And I'm so bummed out, dude. I didn't tell you. Mia
What?
ended up actually being at TIFF. How
Of
about that?
course you did. Well, it's TIFF is
I'm so
weird to me. So
pissed.
they already knew the movie was coming out mainstream. It was practically mainstream the night it aired at TIFF. So there was no real like other than seeing her and meeting her, which would have been kind of cool. Well,
Oh,
you would been able to see her. I don't think you'd actually be able to meet her because there's just
either
the
way.
way that they do things. But it was usually they have these movies play and then it gets released a month or 2 months later
Hmm.
if it gets released. They already had the release date for Pearl because it was already out in the theaters when it was at TIFF, I think. The same night it was premiering at TIFF. I could be
Oh,
wrong. Maybe it premiered the night before and then it went into the theaters the next day, but it just seemed to be all at that same time frame.
what day of the week was TIFF?
I can't remember. TIFF is
Okay,
a
that's
week.
fine.
It's like
A
two
weekend,
weeks.
right?
Yeah, no, I think it was the week. So it was that
Remember, we were
second
looking at when
second.
Pearl
Yeah.
was playing. We were
Well,
talking about going. It had to have been a weekend for me to consider it. So
Well, it was
here's the
last
thing.
weekend. That's the other reason I was going to be gone for the that time
Wait
frame
a
of
minute.
I was
Last
gone from
weekend.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So that whole week it played out. Right from I don't know, like I think the 8th to the 17th.
Well, that's fucked up because the pictures I saw, like it came out. I saw it last Thursday, right? Was it? Would it be
Yeah,
last
I
Thursday? The
remember because
twenty
that's the night I
second.
was going to go.
Oh, okay. So it was Thursday the 22nd. So it came out. All right. Well, maybe okay. Maybe there was no way for me to make it there. Then I thought we were
September
looking
8th
at.
to December. Oh my God, September 8th to September 18th. So that's exactly that time frame that we're talking about
So
that
there
whole
you
week.
go. Okay,
Yeah.
the week before then. So bottom line is, it came here on the 22nd. If we could have seen, she was probably there on like a Friday because we saw the schedule when it was playing. Remember, I
No, it
said
came
Thursday
out. It came
weekend.
out before. It came out. It was out in the theaters, like you said, on Thursday of the 15th.
No, the 22nd, not the 13th.
No, the
Oh,
15th
that
it
was
came
just
out.
happening. I apologize.
Yeah.
The 15th. I'm fucked up.
That's when I was going to go see it. And that's when we were texting back and forth. And you said you were going to go see it that night um, because you had to.
Okay.
And that was, yeah, September 15th. So that's what I'm saying. So unless it was like, it may have played that weekend before, which makes
Yeah.
sense at one of the
Right.
Midnight Madness shows. That's the only thing. And then it came out the following week. But usually I think there's a little bit more time frame in between.
Oh well, I'll never know
I'm kind of
anyway.
speaking out of my ass. I really don't. It
It
just
don't
seems that
matter.
like in the past.
It don't matter. That was the one chance I had to be around her, and it ain't gonna happen.
That's why
So
she heard the show, heard you weren't coming, and said, "I'm gonna go.
she would
I'm
love
off
me,
the
man.
tiff." She would love
Her crazy ass. Absolutely. So anyway, she's fantastic, and everybody's talking about her. And finally, I've only been talking about her since 2016 when I first saw her in Cure for Wellness. And I said it back then. Hey, keeping your eye on this girl. I know I am. And boom. Now here she is. Who else is going to do a trilogy? Think about that. How crazy is that? That this girl had never really had lead roles before, right? And all of a sudden, she's given the lead of a trilogy. Fucking pretty crazy. Talk about
Yeah,
like
well,
a
no,
meteoric rise. You
well, it's
know?
great. Even when you think of it, even from the weight of Ty West, I mean,
Yeah,
this is
smart.
it was really cool. Like he kind of just said, "This is what I want to do. This is
Yeah,
my idea," and obviously got it greenlit to do it. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe I wonder if it was conceived and the budget was split accordingly to give him X amount of budget for each movie, or if he
oh,
was given a budget and decided, listen, how about if I do 2 movies for this budget or something? That'd be interesting. And then maybe based on the weight of that, do the third, because the third one has not been shot, right? They know the
no.
conception because it's an actual sequel.
Hmm.
To Maverick, what is it? Maverick, not Maverick, because it has triple X in the middle.
Mac,
Maxerick? What's the new
Mac,
one called?
Maxine,
Maxine.
Maverick. What is it, Maverick? That's great. Maxine, that was her name in X. But of course, Maxine with three X's.
Yeah. Yeah.
The third X movie, and triple X being pornography, which we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
got
some.
it. We got it. I think
Which
everybody, except for me,
yeah,
which is Maverick. But I
Maverick.
know, I knew there's 3 X's. I'm like, well, so it can't be that. But what was the name? I forgot her name. Again, it's
Oh,
great.
dude.
This is the only downfall. Like I said, I don't want to be doing this um new movie watching as much as I really do. Like I kind of get enjoyment out of it, but really the hard hitters are there are really no surprises. This is what I've come to realize is I very rarely get a surprise that I found a movie that I'm like, oh, you're gonna hear about it. It's gonna travel through
Yeah.
the ones that stand out. It's just the way it is.
Usually,
Yeah.
sometimes no. Sometimes only podcasters that watch fucking 200 movies pull gems out. But like I said, I haven't. I'm yet to have a movie appear in someone's top 10 that I hadn't seen. And unless it's something that I know of and I just didn't think it was horror enough for me to give it my time, and I could have got retroactively, I could have gone back and watched it and said, yeah, and I have done that. And then it's ended up that either A, I did consider it horror, or I still did, or I didn't, but it was never like a situation where I was like, oh, it would have made my top 10. It was like one of those situations. Oh yeah, pretty solid movie. I would rate it high, but I don't think it's horror. Or it would end up being, yeah, pretty good movie, 7.5 or so. It's not going to be a top 10, or you know what I mean. I dig it, but
I thought of you, and I just thought of the reality of what we've been talking about for a little bit of 2001 and for 2002 of obviously the trend being, is it a standard horror film and then the end it plays out, and we're saying this seems to be more of a new trend. But isn't it funny that one of the movies that we're reviewing tonight kind of falls into that
yeah,
same category? Angel Heart, for sure. I'm not saying there's gore and there's a mystery involved at the beginning, but to say it's a horror film until maybe a little bit later, there's some scenes that, and then the end,
revelations.
the reveal is what puts this into total horror realm and also elevates the movie significantly as well.
But it's
But
like Twilight Zone. It's like a Twilight Zone premise. It starts
yeah,
off, you don't know
actually,
what
you're
you're
right.
dealing with, and then right when the end comes, sometimes it ends up being pretty horrific for somebody, and let's see who's involved with it.
Yeah,
It does happen. That's kind of what it's like. I mean, I'll get more on that later because again, that's why I never watched it in the past. And there was one reason I really, 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 really wanted to watch it forever, which is probably obvious, and I still didn't. And I, it
Mickey
wasn't
Rourke.
marketed. Yeah, Mickey Rourke. I do love him though. But it wasn't marketed to me as a horror movie at that age. Because remember, I'm 87. I'm balls deep. You know what I mean? I'm as into horror as I could be. Think about this. I'm
So I
14,
remember this
15,
being promoted
right?
as a horror film. I do remember it being promoted as a horror film. And it's
Oh,
Alan Parker, which I was also very intrigued by because he's a very interesting filmmaker. Because I've liked a lot of his movies.
I don't know what they are. See,
Pink Floyd, The Wall,
oh what? Oh, well, I've
Midnight
seen it
Express,
a million times. Haven't seen it yet.
Angela's Ashes was later,
Okay,
and I'm
good
missing
movies
I'm
though.
missing a ton in between.
Movies I'm aware of.
Yeah,
Right, I'm aware of these movies being good movies. So, oh, I didn't know that he directed. I should, as many times as I've seen Pink Floyd The Wall, you would think I know who directed it. That's
I
it's
just liked his name, the way his name's written in the on that for that for Pink Floyd, The Wall. It's like
yeah,
the Alan
everything.
Parker film or whatever like that. Just the way his
Right.
name is written has been always sort of stayed with me, obviously.
It's like cursive and it's like in a color, right? It's either red or that light blue they use. in that movie a
Yeah.
lot. That
He
cartoon
did
called.
a
I just wore
Vita,
my shirt.
Mississippi Burning, and a Vita were the other,
Oh,
and
oh,
the
okay.
Commitments was also a big hit. Remember the one about the
Yeah,
band?
yeah, I think so.
And
Yes,
that came
that's
out. It
what I
was more of
thought.
a sleeper hit because I don't think people were expecting, even though it had his name attached to it. I don't think the general public, because it wasn't he didn't have a Steven Spielberg name. You really kind of had to be more into film to know. Oh,
Right.
this is a new Alan Parker film. But when that movie came out, I remember the attention it got in the and it became like a hit. But I don't think they were expecting it to be a hit
Very
at the time.
interesting. Huh? Yeah, I
So
don't know. Well, we'll get to it later. There's a couple of things I have to get on. Wow. I had them at top of the show. Well, first of all, I got to tell you what's happening here. Francesca last night comes home, or I don't know, wakes up with it because it's Saturday. I don't know. Girl has a sore throat. Now,
uh
now,
oh.
this is my thing. I didn't even think twice about it. I'm like, okay, she's got a sore throat. She goes, can you pick me up some Alka-Seltzer Plus while you're out? Because I was working. So I picked it up, Alka-Seltzer Plus cold, brought it home, gave it to her. Didn't think much about it. My wife was getting ready to come home last night. She's texting me from the airport. She goes, well, you should probably tell Mike and Dad, right? I'm like, oh, I didn't even. It didn't even because today's football,
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah,
football,
yeah, yeah.
and I didn't even think
And
about it. She goes, well, what if it is COVID? I don't think, I'm like, shit. I had thought about it, and I was like, this is kind of like a reality now that I really haven't thought about. Um, since things have kind of slowed down and everybody I know has already had it. So I text my brother and I'll pose it to you. I'm like, well, um, so Frankie has a sore throat. Wanted to let you know. I'm not sure if people proceed differently with stuff like this now or what. It just didn't even occur to me to think of COVID. And if
yeah.
it would have been a year ago, 2 years ago, anyone gets any symptom, okay,
Hey, my
quarantine.
first reaction was uh-oh. Sore throat and
Yeah.
hoarse voice now are the two most common
Oh
things.
fuck.
So my
Yep.
mind automatically goes to COVID, but the severity level has never really the severity level is so low now. But again, you don't know. I know your dad's had it, but you just don't know, right? You know your brother's not vaccinated, so you just don't know.
But
Most
he's also
likely,
just had it.
everybody will
Also.
have a cold. Yeah, he could still be immune. It could just be a cold now. This is what the reality
Right.
of the situation is. We're past the crazy time, more or less. There's still people dying from it, but people are just COVIDed out. So you don't think about it, but the right thing to do is just to let people know and make their own decisions, I guess.
Which I did, and now they're not coming. And my
Okay.
mother
Well,
has
there you go.
my mother has a health issue going on here, which she's waiting on tests to come back, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen. So now Irene, who's been gone, is here. She was going to go visit my mother today, because she hasn't seen her in so long, and because of some of the health things that are going on. And now she's like, well, I don't think I should go. She goes, with her, with everything going on, we're not sure of, and everything else, and Frankie with a sore throat. I don't want to be the one that brings COVID to her if it is, and this and that. Same thing. My
Yeah.
father's 84, or you know what? It's like, well,
You
you
just have
don't
to
want to
play it
fucking,
safe. Wait your 3 days, or
yeah.
whatever it is now. I mean, my family just went through it. My aunt that it lives in Toronto. I don't know why, but she collected all the she got any free test she could get, like those rapid tests. She doesn't need them. So then my mom goes to visit, and my aunt's handing them out like it's
Wish I had
freaking
one.
prizes. Like, yeah, whatever. So then my mom gives them to us. So we've got all these rapid tests here. So it
Oh
kind of went through
wow.
the house. It turned out if it was COVID, it didn't register on the tests. It just turned out that like my daughter and my wife both had colds.
Okay. Well, see,
Both
that's
had
it now.
colds, but
Right.
that
So now
I mean that's what really coronavirus is. That
a
it's
very
just it
strong. Yes.
yeah it just COVID-19 is what it was the offshoot. And again, I'm not a scientist, so don't fucking come to me for facts. But I'm just saying this is what I remember, and it spiraled into what we've lived through. Now it's gonna probably be cold level, but like anything, cold flu or whatever, just like in the past, it's gonna fucking affect some people differently, and some people might get really sick and or die from it.
Well,
So all
it's
you can
like
do is take your preventions, do whatever you want to do. Vax, don't vax. I don't give a fuck. Just take whatever
whatever.
precautions you have to take, and then live life. That's all you could do is let people know, hey, someone's sick in the house. This will probably be a new thing. Hey, someone's
Yeah.
sick. You make a decision if
But
you want
here's
to
the
come.
crazy part. All right. Yes, this is what's going on, but the rest of the world, everybody's still going places. They're going to
Oh
packed
yeah,
stadiums. They're going to
of
concerts. They're
course.
going to movies. Everybody's resolving like it's over. But when the shit hits the fan, when there's somebody sick in somebody's house, all of a sudden, okay.
I
So
know, isn't it funny?
is it
I'll go for
is it rather
50,000 people to a concert.
irresponsible? Is it
Yeah.
rather irresponsible of us to have resumed where we once were and just have schools open and work and everything else and concerts and everything else because now this happens and now we're well too fucking bad. I
It's
mean,
you could go in circles arguing this
I
because
know.
because
Yeah. Weird.
there'll be some people that said absolutely we should be. Then you like again, if you got no money, you got to work. We got to
Right.
and look what's already happened: supply chain issues, everything else. I don't care if you're a conspiracy theorist or not, or just a realist and realize what's going on. It's just at some point we're paying the price for all this shit happening right now
It's crazy.
because and it's only gonna get like kind of worse. I'm talking from a inflation standpoint, whatever. It might cool down a little bit, but your rates, our rates, everything's jacked up now.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
so I'm
crazy.
just saying there's a financial aspect to it that I think if we don't get back to work and don't start getting things back to normal, I think we're over the hurdle of the pandemic issue. I think it's an endemic now. I think it's been an endemic for a while. Endemic, whatever the fuck it's called. But again, it's not gone. But we've said this from the get go. We knew it was going to kind of be like this. At some point, it's going to get to the point where we just have to live with it.
Yeah.
And you make the decisions you want to make to. We drove back. We went to, so it was my oldest daughter's birthday. She's in the one that went to school. So we went to bring her up for lunch in Toronto
Right
yesterday and
on.
everything. As we're driving back from Toronto, someone's over on an overpass sign saying, "Stop the shot." And I'm like, idiots. Like, now? Like, you're
Right.
wasting your Saturday afternoon throwing a banner up over the thing and like holding a Canadian flag and saying, "Stop the shot." Like, don't you have a better, like, okay, I guess we're podcasting and someone might look at this and say, "Don't you guys have something better to do than this?" And I'm like, no, we don't actually. I don't
Well,
have
we
anything
enjoy
better to
it.
do right now. I'm enjoying this. I can't imagine that. Does that bring them joy? Maybe it does. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I just don't get it. And the timing seems so weird. Like, why do you care if someone else gets a vaccine? Why? Why? Do
You'd
you
have to
care if
have
someone
them
else
here.
wants to get a vaccine? Vaccination?
You'd have to have them on a show and ask them and see what their answer would
I
be.
yeah, I
I'm
don't
sure
get
there's
it.
an
I
answer.
have no problem with them not wanting to get it. This is what I'm saying.
I
Just like
agree
everything,
too.
I have no don't I don't care. Your brother, so be it. Like if he gets it, doesn't get it, so be it. That's his decision. But
Hey, man.
it's when you put that fucking thought process into someone else. Yeah, I got them. Am I gonna get a fourth? I don't know. I don't right now. I don't feel like I need to get the fourth shot. I don't feel like I'm in that age bracket, whatever. I don't know. I don't typically get the flu vaccination either, but
Right.
then
Me neither. Right.
occasionally I've had it like twice in my life. So occasionally, if I'm at the doctor's and whatever, like, oh, we have flu shots, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm here. Why not? Whatever. I'm not anti whatever, but I also don't go seek after them. I feel like I've done everything, and if we've passed through it, great. Now, if I get like violently ill from COVID, so be it. But ultimately, I've had it. I've gotten my 3 shots done. I won't want. We've talked about it, but I'm not wanting to put that on you, and nor have you put it on us. We've just had a discussion. I think it's the
Right.
people that have stop the shot signs out. Like, really?
What are you gonna do, man? At this point, with people, it's always gonna be something. I feel bad for
Because
people
this is
that
what keeps the
follow.
world interested, eh? In a
I,
whacked out way.
I guess
That's
it's
what keeps everything
interesting.
interested.
I don't know what it is. I
I
just feel
hope.
bad. The thing is, people always have something to complain about, and I think that makes for a sad life. Even though they're kind of like, okay, I'm on the right or I'm on the left and this and that, and I'm doing what I think is right for my beliefs. See, this is good because it's about politics, but it's not about political issues at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so but this is what I feel about people that live that way and that are very predictable in every topic. As soon as it comes out, you know where they're gonna fall. But ultimately, this is this: they always have something to complain about. Like they could be having a conversation like us right now and talking about a movie, for example, and then in the middle of that thing, they could jump out of. Let's not talk about this part of the movie. Let's talk about the theme here and this character here. And oh man, I know people in real life this way, and of course this guy has to do this because of blah blah blah, and it's like a political slant, but it's a bitch. It's a complaint. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
people that follow politics all the time, they're literally always having something to complain about. And to
Or
me,
they're
how do
seeing
you
it
get
in everything
joy?
as well.
How
They're
do you get
seeing it in
joy?
everything. Yeah, you're
Well,
right.
that too, but it's like you could say it's a tongue-in-cheek comment or whatever, make a snarky comment about something, but you as a person, you always have that in the back of your mind. I can't see how that makes you a happy person. I don't know. Maybe something fires in their neurosenses that somehow generates something that gives them joy. But from the
All right.
outside looking in, it's like, you know what? Every time they make a snarky comment about something, or it always some goes there real quick. I'm like, how could this be happy when all you do is compare? Is all you do is complain about half the world? the people that don't agree with what you agree with on your side. You know what I mean? I just can't see that being joyful. I don't know.
No, I mean, again, there maybe that's what brings them joy. Who knows? There's some
Yeah.
people that do make an art out of, complaining or spouting off their opinion. But it's really gotten kind of really out of hand. But I guess, like I said, that's what maybe keeps this world interesting in a crazy, weird
Well,
way.
I thought the world
Uh,
was a lot more interesting in the 80s when people didn't do shit like that and we just took what we took and had fun.
or when you could just say, "Wow, look at those crazy people over there." Now
Right.
you can't even use the term "fucking crazy." Like,
Well,
like you know what
you
I'm.
could do what you want. That's a fantasy world to say that you can't say things. If somebody wants to give a hard time to you
True.
because you're saying that something's
No,
crazy, then
it's
who's the one with the
dude.
problem?
It's it, it and this is not a conspiracy. This is the reality of what I envision happening. It's crazy now. Still, thankfully, it's crazy to think that's a crazy world or that's a fake world. I guarantee that's what if that's where it's heading towards. If we don't stop, like at the end of the day, we got to be able to have a talk. We got to be able to joke and talk and not feel like we can't say shit or it just becomes. I get, like I've always said, I get evolution. I get, being open.
Yes.
Again, this has nothing to do with people's choices or whatever. That's exactly it. It's about the people that are fighting the fight that have no dog in the hunt, as you would say. There's just no, like, you're like, what are you even, why is this even being brought up right now? What are you gaining from this? It's almost like they feel like they need to fight the fight. Like it's like they're smashing VHS tapes for the world,
There you
fighting
go.
someone else's fight. Uh,
Right. That's what they
yeah.
do. And here's
So
the funny
I
part.
don't know.
They argue when they get politicians involved in the mix. You're literally arguing about people that don't care about you and don't even know that you exist. And you're willing to freaking die on a hill talking about them as a politician
Yeah.
and this and that, and you want to support them. Think about how much effort people take to do this. Even to write something down, to sit down and put up a flag in front of your house that says Trump's the real president. He didn't lose or something like that. Or this because I see this stuff in some of the places that I go to and I see all this other stuff and bumper stickers and whatnot, which is easy. You buy it and you put it on. But who are you making rich with that bumper sticker? You know what I want to tell people when I see bumper stickers? I want to start a conspiracy theory that the other side actually sends out those bumper stickers to make money off of
To
you.
fund to
So
fund
the
the Democratic
anti-Biden
Party.
ones,
Yeah.
the anti-Biden bumper stickers are actually manufactured by Biden. If you research this company, you see that he bankrolled it. I want to tell this to that side, and I want to tell it to the other side. Hey, you have a sticker on your thing against Trump. Guess what? It's just been discovered that Trump's company is the one with this, and he has ties to this. So
Trump
ultimately, you're
Realty.
giving him money. Wouldn't it be great if we could put that spin out there? Ooh, it might even be true. True. Matter of fact, they might be together making money on him. You know
It
what I
could be
mean? They might all
the
be
new
one thing.
Alex Cross.
How great
Yeah.
would that be, though? If that information leaked out there and people just stop buying it, whatever gets them to for me to stop seeing it. I'm being selfish, of course. I just don't want to see it. So it's like, but wouldn't it be good? Because that's what Primus did. Do you ever see those stickers that say Primus sucks?
Yeah.
Okay, that's made by Primus. But
It's
the people that
great
are in on the
marketing.
joke
Yeah.
know it because by saying Primus, most of the time, if somebody has a Primus sucks sticker on their car, they're actually a Primus fan because they're in the know that they put that out for fun.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
an inside gig, It's a nod and a wink to other Primus fans. Now, of course, you know damn well some people hate Primus and they buy it and they listen also and they put it on their sticker. Guess what? Guess who's getting paid? Fucking Primus. How great is that? I think that's awesome. So they should do
I
that
mean,
with the.
I put an exploded heads horror podcast sucks, and yeah, people just agreed.
We should. We should sell both in different places. We should like start
Yeah,
a fake
the
flight with
VHS
22
group just
shots.
market it in there.
That too. We'll put it in there, but yeah, we'll base it out of 22 shots though. We'll have a fake fight with them, right? And then we'll say, hey, let's have this
Fake.
big fake fight, okay? And we're gonna put out stickers that say 22 shots sucks, and they're gonna put out stickers that say exploding heads sucks, because you will make more money on people that want to put
Yeah,
stickers on for something negative, for something they hate, than for something they love. Don't you agree? Don't,
absolutely.
how sad is that? That's a sad fucking state right there. But they do it. People care more about getting out there what they're opposed to than what they love. And ultimately, that sums up the whole thing. Like with the internet, wouldn't it be great? And I put this post up not too long ago. Wouldn't it be great if we just talked about things that we agreed on and that we enjoyed instead of the opposite online. We have this great thing here. Wouldn't it be great just to celebrate shit we like and that's it? And if someone else doesn't like it, don't shit on it or what brings us together instead of what divides us? Like, hey, I like a
For
sunny day.
sure.
You know what I mean? How many people
Yeah.
like a sunny day? Probably most. Of course, there's going to be some people that don't. But I mean, wouldn't it be nice if people
Fuck
use the
sun.
internet for that? Just to spread joy? Yeah, fuck sun. I like it rainy. You know? I don't know. Food for thought. It's never going to happen, but there's a couple things I wanted to ask you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now,
You have my
first of all,
permission.
I'm 32 movies for the year, 2022. I've watched 32 movies, and I only have
Okay.
three that are 6.5. And that's my lowest rating. So I'm really doing good. So anyway, I'm happy
Yeah,
about
you're doing
that.
well.
Yeah, man. Okay, 187. Okay. Did you know? No, I'll say that one for after. What about this Canadian outing? There's been rumors
What?
of the Canadian outing involving us. We were talking about going up to that thing because you know what? The Friday the 13th
Oh,
people are gonna be there.
yes.
Ginny's gonna be there. I want to see Ginny. Now the other Canadian outing that's going on that Scott and Heather are going to be at that they are. I talked to them and Heather
I
said that
told
they
them,
talked
yeah, it's the same day in Niagara, right?
Haunted Manor. It's called.
Yeah.
So what's gonna
So
happen? What day is it?
I it's Saturday the 29th. So
Okay.
it's prime Halloween party day. So you got to put aside anything that you were thinking of doing and decide if you want to come here or do this. I just reached out to Vince. Vince is actually going to be in Florida. He
Oh,
comes back early that morning. I said, Vince, that's too tight. I can't guarantee you're not going to want to
that's
feel
too
like doing it.
tight,
You're going to
Vince.
want to.
What's he doing to
Yeah,
you?
I said, don't get excited, actually, is what I put
Sorry.
on the thing. I go, that's too tight, Vince. Don't get too excited. So you are right on the same wavelength as me. But I said, there's no way you're gonna go. I know you. There's no way. So I said, maybe next time let's record a fucking show, finally.
Right.
So
Word.
there's another buddy of mine, Peter. He might come. We were thinking to go to see Iron Maiden together because they're playing two shows. The downfall is they're playing the shows right off an event that's in Niagara Falls that I have to go to, and I'm like, it's just too hectic. So I think I'm gonna have to not see Maiden, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but go to this thing and just say yes, let's go. Heather and Scott are going. I'm gonna try to get Peter to come with me. If you can come too, Brandon was rumored to maybe come,
Oh
maybe,
boy.
I don't know. This is a rumor. If it happens, this would be fucking magic. So I'll do I don't know when the Manor thing, if it's day and night, but Falls View or the Frightmare in the Falls is like a day event. It's a convention, right?
Well, and
You
this is
go,
my
they,
question.
they got Funko Pops all over the place. You'll love it.
No, this is my question. Haunted Manor sounds like it'd be a nighttime thing. So why can't we do both? Why can't we go to the freaking
Oh, I'm sure we can.
the Friday fest and then and in the evening go to the thing? Of course, I
That's
got to
how I
see what.
presented it to Scott. I said I don't want to take away your like your shit. Do what you're gonna do. It's a hayride. It's a hayride in haunted house, Canada's largest haunted attraction. It's in um I guess Niagara Falls area. Sorry, I'm trying to find the
Which
fucking
is good. Which is good. Okay, and the other
yeah.
one is close to it as well. I forgot where the but who else?
It's the
Listeners
Scotiabank Convention Center in Niagara Falls.
is
So
what
and this is
is
Niagara Falls as well. So everything's in Niagara Falls.
okay. Well, there you go. So we got to look at exactly what's going to be there. I know Ginny's going to be there. That's what I know. I'd like to meet
Yeah.
Ginny, and I don't know who else is there and what else is there.
Jenny from the block.
Yeah. So what's it called? What fest? What is the name of the
Frightmare in the Falls.
Fright
And I think
Mare?
that's like, I don't know, that's like 20, 30, 30 or $40 to get in to Canadian.
Let's see, October 28th, 29th. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the
Fifth.
Friday and Saturday only, but Saturday would probably be the better day to go. And I think
Then we
that
do
was
it
the day
all.
that they wanted to go to the Haunted Manor. So it's all fucking perfect.
Okay. Amy Steele, Adrian King.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a whole, and
David Naughton.
it's open Fridays and Saturdays, the Haunted Manor, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it's actually perfect timing
Christine's
to
going to
go
be
from
there.
one thing to the other. Strow?
Yeah, not Strauss,
Stroh?
but I mean, she can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listeners, whoever wants to go, let us know. They're still signing up for it. That'd be great. A real Exploding Heads meetup. That'd be fucking awesome. So yeah,
She
please
could
do.
sign like Black Phillip.
If anybody can. No, Christine the car. Remember, you could fuck its tailpipe.
I know.
Nice. You could fuck its tailpipe.
The car wishes me a happy birthday every year.
Danielle
Oh,
Harris is going to be there. Scout Taylor Compton, Bill
yeah.
Mosley, who's the only person I ever met, and Harry Stevens, the little boy from Joan.
Mosley.
Harry Manfredini is going to be there. Manfredi, your buddy.
And Freddie.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
was it really? So I was listening to the Jamie and Brian retroactive, and it's funny on Friday the 13th, and it's Horror in the House of Salmons for all of you that don't know the show, and it's really interesting because I've thought of this too, like not just this fact, but from other movies as well as what has been changed when you have time and you can reflect back on it, and then you're telling the stories what was actually the reality of the situation at the time of production and being made versus what is the story that has been created thereafter. you know like Tom Savini talking about how he would go see the movies in the theater and he wouldn't watch the movie, he'd watch the audience and watch their nightmare unfold, as he likes to word it. Did that happen multiple times? Did that happen just once? Did that even ever happen? Is that just
Wait.
that they didn't talk about that. I'm jumping all over the place. Their thought process was Harry Manfredini. It was
Oh, I know this.
and they're
Right, I
saying
heard that.
no. Now it's kill, 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 ma, ma, ma. Well, I go, maybe it is kill, 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 ma, ma, ma. But there's no question in anybody's mind that when that sound effect echoed and came out in the soundtrack, it was.
I agree. We all feel that way.
So I never knew kick, ma, ma, ma. I
Nobody
never
did.
knew that.
But now I hear it. But hold on. But when he did it on the show, when Harry Manfredini did it on the fucking when we see him do it, and he goes, when he does
Yeah.
that, it sounds exactly like that voice because it is his voice still. You know what I'm saying? And I could see using the reverb or whatever the f it's called in their freaking it's to make it happen that it's sounding that
Echo
way.
chamber. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
why would he do that? I mean, Jamie and Brian said, just
Yeah.
I could see that
Yeah.
he just want to bullshit to say that it's maybe someone else told him it sounded like that, which I don't know. I want to believe that it was always Key and Ma to him, and that's how he came up with it. Because why would he just say? I mean, maybe he did. What? But still, is he just doing it just for the attention because it sounds cool? Maybe they're onto something there. I just kind of took it at face value, saying, yeah,
It's.
it does sound
I'm
like
just
it.
gonna
So,
say when I heard Brian talk about that story,
hmm
I'm like, yeah, those are the thoughts that come through my mind.
I thought
Like I
that
just
too.
like the Tom Savini thing. I love Tom Savini, but sometimes I'll just see these interviews and I'm like, really? Did he go to the theater and just decide to sit down and not watch the movie and just watch other people's reactions? I bet he did. Maybe
I
once
would.
or twice, maybe.
Right.
Do you think he bought? Hey, I gotta go. Can I get tickets for the 10 o'clock? Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 11. Like, I just want to see everybody's nightmare unfold.
I would say maybe if he was in an area where it was playing, he did it a few times, right?
You think? Okay,
But
that's
if I
fine.
were him, wouldn't you? I think I would, especially being an unknown that no one's gonna recognize someone that's never been behind the camera before. So I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
an actor in the picture is one thing, but somebody else, I
This
would.
is probably why they get tired of talking about the fucking movies. Like, you got our diehard fans here that just constantly want to talk about these movies, and they're probably they've been done to talking about it to death years ago. Years ago. But like I said, it was I this is why I can't bring myself to pay for an autograph or a picture, because I don't put any value. Like a picture, I like the idea of having a picture, but still paid for it drives me crazy. I'm sorry if
A select
it's not
few
coming
for
from a
me.
frugal place.
No,
I
I
really
I
I
get
know
you.
I brought this up the other show. It's just that, again, back in the day, you just walked up to the people, said, "Hey, how are you?" Try not to monopolize their time. And probably what ended up happening was that assholes started monopolizing their time. So they're saying, "Hey, buddy, I got to get moving here." So they said, "We got to structure this," and so began the pay and pay for the autograph and the time spent, and now you get treated like cattle. So that's fine, but then don't complain that you're being treated like cattle, or that these people don't
Right.
really have that much of vested interest in meeting you, because I'd say that a lot of them don't. Some of them do, and a lot of them don't.
Yep. But it's good on them. They can make money. I'm happy for them
Money.
that they have this opportunity. They can make the money
Yeah.
now. Otherwise, what else are they doing? You know what I mean? Why not make that? Wouldn't you love that? I would honestly rather have that be my life than an A-list actor that feels he always has to freaking be putting out a movie every year. I would rather make a little bit of money young, right? And then just be able to coast the rest of my life going to conventions and bullshit like that instead of doing actual work. That's me, and I don't even want, because it sounds easy. You're sitting down, chilling. You come around, people, they come to you, they say nice things about your performance. You're remembered. You made a difference to them. I mean, there's just something to be said for that feeling too. Plus, you're getting paid. I mean, shit, they probably make freaking good money on these weekends. And if they do it
Yeah.
every weekend, a lot of weekends, even if they do it half the weekends of the year, 30 or something, I mean, it's probably enough to keep them going. So you know what? Good on them. I, I'm happy for them. I'm glad they have the opportunity. Because who else gets to do that? Do other actors get to do that? No. You got to be a genre actor. You got to be something that people are passionate about, horror or sci-fi. Do you see old comedians? Sometimes you'll see an old comedian at a horror one. You know what I'm saying? You just might. Dana Carvey's here because he was in Halloween 2 or some shit, and something I think he would need
Because
to.
he cameoed in he was on the panel for Halloween too.
Not the panel,
No,
but
let's
he.
get like one of those old comedians, like Dougie Doug. Like, will he come? Dougie Doug's here.
There you go. If Dougie Doug would have been in a horror movie at one point, he could use that to market. That's all he had to have done.
No, I'm saying it's not just horror people because you got the Sons of
I know.
Anarchy people coming to those conventions. So why not have a Dougie
Awesome.
Doug convention?
Yeah, because people are lining up for Dougie Doug. Like he's fucking, like he's Jax
It's
from
Sinbad.
Sons.
I told you Sinbad did like I think I brought it up on the show. Like Sinbad was like the opening act to one of our events when I worked for the previous circus before I joined this. And he came in. It was the hardest gig, man. Like it was funny because I walked into the elevator and he's there, no security or anything like that. I thought that was really cool. And we were just talking like, yeah, it's Sinbad. And he just come in and just start cracking jokes. But it's a very difficult crowd when you're not at a stand when you're not in a club or expecting a stand-up comic to come out, just to start introducing a stand-up comic and then just telling jokes to a crowd that's not expecting a stand-up comic. That's difficult shit, man.
Yeah,
I'd
it
hate
is.
to have to do that.
True.
That
You're
is
right.
horrible
That's
because
an
you're just
uphill
thrown
battle.
into it. They're just there for the drinks, and now there's some guy cracking one-liners up on the stage, and you gotta like like were they funny? Some of the lines were funny, but most of them fell flat, and I felt you just feel bad because you're like, well, no one was expecting a stand-up comedy show. When you walk
All right.
into a stand-up comedy show, then obviously you're sort of primed. You're hoping you're gonna laugh. I'm like the best audience for stand-up comic too. I'll tell you that right now
Right.
because
So
I'm
wait,
laughing left, right, and center.
he was opening for what though? What was the feature?
Dude, he was just the opening act at our convention when we were at the convention. It was like entertainment. So we're just doing a social night.
Okay.
Here everybody is. Welcome to our event for the weekend, and enjoy the drinks and the food that's coming out. Oh, by the way, here's Sinbad.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
weird.
funny thing happened to
See,
me on the way. Yeah, know what I mean? It's just
but now you
it's
feel
a crazy.
obligated. Now you
Yeah,
feel obligated as an audience to pay attention. Like, what if you were there and then instead of Sinbad, something else hooked up? Like, we have mimes over
Zorro.
here.
All of a sudden,
Yeah,
Zorro came in.
yeah, Zorro, a guy coming on a horse and they're gonna do something and fucking on a little stage in front of you. Now instead of having having a drink or whatever, a cup of coffee with a buddy and just shooting the shit, whatever, like you do, before, mingling a little bit. Now instead of mingling, you are basically told, okay, shh, check this out. This is a nice surprise for you. So you're obligated. You don't want to be a jerk off
Yeah.
and continue to have conversation over somebody's performance. At least I wouldn't. I would feel like, okay, now I'm obligated to pay attention to this here. I'm not going to be
And
the
you go
same
to work
person.
clean. Like this is not like that's the other thing. This is a convention. Like you're not going to talk about like the usual stuff that a lot of comics go into. I'm not saying
How
every
can you?
comic's dirty, but you know what I mean.
No,
The
but
ones that I tend to like have the ability to work both clean and dirty, and I like it when they can kind of meld the two together and kind of
right.
make it seem. No, I'm not talking about censor their own work. By no means, I hate that. I like
But
when
yeah,
they're able to just to play off it a bit and work the crowd and that's the side of a. I'll tell you this: Sinbad was not able to generate a lot of steam during that set. But then again, having Sinbad there was just an odd choice.
it is
Like,
an
I mean,
odd
the last
choice.
time I saw him was in Jingle All the Way back like
But good on him. He's getting paid either way. He's not getting paid by the laugh or by the eyeball on him. He's getting paid to show up and tell
who knows? Maybe
jokes.
he was. You get a buck of laughs, Sinbad. Get out there and fucking perform for us, you
A
monkey.
buckle laugh. have a guy sitting there with a fucking pen and paper. Okay, I heard a laugh over there. Someone's pointing that person there laughed. Could you imagine? That's a chuckle. That counts for half a laugh. They got it all going. They fucking. All right, $43.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Thank you. I'm gonna hit the casino now.
Holy
Now get out of here. Go do Jingle All the Way 2.
There probably already is one. There has to be, right? That's a sad state of affairs when you just expect everything to have a sequel now, especially a Christmas movie.
Christmas Vacation 2, which takes place like Uncle Eddie's summer retreat. Yeah.
2014. Here's who's in it. Oh, this is good.
Jingle All the Way 2?
Larry the Cable Guy is in it. All right. Anthony Corelli. You know who Anthony Corelli is? He's a fucking wrestler. He's a fucking. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh man.
These are all the guys signing at Frightmare at the Falls.
He's from Toronto. No, it's Santino Marella. But he's the guy. Larry the Cable Guy.
Maybe he will be a Frightmare.
Brian Stepanek and freaking Anthony Corelli, also known as.
Even Sinbad. Was like, I ain't gonna be in this shit.
Right. Yeah, I don't see Sinbad in this movie. So, but isn't that a sad state of affairs where you know almost for a fact that because anything has any piece of success, there's an automatic sequel. Remember back in the days when a sequel was only for a good movie or what became a franchise horror movie? You know? See, I can excuse it.
It's true. It's true. I mean, good is relative because everybody will have their own opinion.
Well, yeah,
I mean, we have a lot of police academies, and
it's pop culture.
That's
though.
Relative. Yeah.
And that's why I don't pay attention to pop culture shit. Because I know everybody seems to know. Everybody looks at me slant-eyed, like, how do you not know this actor or this movie? And I'm like, well, because I don't really care about pop.
I look at you like that.
Why do I have to care about pop culture shit? I'm interested in the things that interest me, and I'm happy with it.
But this is like organic overflow. Like, it's shit that you can't, like Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady. I don't give two shits about football. And you're going to say, yeah, how do you not know? That's exactly what you're about to say. But I don't care about football, but you just can't avoid it. And these ones that we bring up, these are ones that we bring up are huge. I admittedly, comparatively, I think it's kind of similar because you're a big music person too. So sometimes, especially when it's in the music realm, that would be the argument there. That's what or a movie person, not just pop culture. But that's maybe the Tom Brady comparison. Maybe it's a little skewed, but I mean, I maybe in the big picture, I don't think so. Like, I think Imagine Dragons, the fact that you even texted me that your brother didn't know who they were, or
I got to tell you that story.
Still shocks me.
Yeah, see, so I didn't know. My wife didn't know. Frankie said what she said. Remember, she knew.
Yeah, the only.
And I asked my brother. He was sitting on the couch later on that Sunday. We were watching football after we recorded. And I looked over and I go, "Hey, have you ever heard of Imagine Dragons?"
Weird thing to say during a commercial break.
I go, I know, because I go, it's something I have to ask.
It's also jerking him off at the time, too.
A conversation we had on the podcast. Do you know what Imagine Dragons are? I told him. And he said, no. I go, if you had to guess, what would it be? And he goes, I don't know, something like involving cigars or cigarettes or something, he said. And at first I didn't know, but then I thought about it. It seems like it'd be a good name for like a smoke shop or a rolling papers or something. Like the dragons smoke.
Honestly.
But he never heard of them.
Your family, French, thank God your daughter is the only one with 80 cents in that fucking house.
Imagine Dragons.
A vape shop.
That's what I thought he was probably thinking, yeah.
Was he high? Or did he already have something? Like, was the pizza have like magic mushrooms on them or something? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, fuck. Oh. I'm so glad you said that because I forgot that. I was going to bring that on the show and I forgot that. I asked him. So, like I said, not everybody knows shit.
Well, there's shit that people, it's happened on the show. I think you're like, how do you not know this? I'm like, I don't know it. And it just happened to me recently when someone brought something up, not on the show, in real life. And I'm like, I don't know. So I get that. It's just certain things you just think natural flow. Like you've been like, oh yeah, I heard it I just happened to hear it. Like I pride myself. I say, other than listening to Stern on Sirius, I typically don't listen to the radio. And if I do, it will be Sirius Lithium, which typically I don't think Imagine Dragons would be on. But I still know who Imagine Dragons are. Now, maybe it's because I have the kids, but you have a daughter, and she knew who they were. So I figured somehow,
it's that age,
through a kid or just through knowing that they're a huge fucking band right now, you would have known who they were. Like Coldplay. You know who Coldplay is?
Well, I came up with Coldplay. I listened to Coldplay before everybody knew who they were. I was there on their first album. That was different. And that's when I was heavy into music. It was the fucking late 90s, early 2000s. So I was still into the fucking, into modern music. It was a time for me. I was younger too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it was music being everywhere. I was into all
Okay.
kinds of music. So of
Yeah.
course. But like Imagine Dragons, like I said, I hadn't heard of it. These people haven't heard of it. Frankie knows, of course, because she's younger and she's on YouTube.
These people, my wife and brother,
Well, I tell you,
these
I'm
people
gonna
haven't heard of it.
I'm gonna go to work tomorrow, and I'm gonna ask the room. Do you know what Imagine Dragons are, and see how many people know? I'm
And
kidding.
if the percentage is under 50, I'm going to switch from Alabama bashing to fucking North Tonawanda and surrounding area bashing. Even though that's a state versus like a city. Yeah, like Western.
WNY.
Yeah, New York. Just fucking bomb it. Just at the border.
Out.
Let's just set dynamite up along the border.
Well, you should be happy for us if that's the case. If we don't care about pop culture, if we're doing other things with ourselves, then giving.
You know who the Goo Goo Dolls are, but not Imagine Dragons.
Fuck the Goo Goo Dolls. But here's the thing. People out here, there's kids I work with, and I call them kids. They're in their 20s. Okay, they don't know who fucking Bill Murray is. Okay. And I was surprised at that.
I hear you. This is when I'm like, holy fuck, I'm getting old, because that is what I was going to talk about earlier too. You finish your thought, because I'll interject too with a similar
I'm just saying, Bill Murray hasn't been in a new movie advertised on TV probably in a while. And the thing is, these guys that I happen to work with aren't movie guys at all. They're in their 20s. One guy literally fucking works, and his hobbies are he's in his garage tinkering with cars or this, and he drives fucking he races. So he does not sit down and watch television at all. So he doesn't watch TV or movies. I have another guy at work that's pretty much like that.
But he knows who Imagine Dragons is.
I bet they don't. That's what I'm saying. They don't. I think
they have
hobbies. They have different type of hobbies than we do. They're just a different, kind of people than we are with what they're into, and that's fine. But I'm like, yeah, they didn't know who Bill Murray was because there's a picture of him in our room, in our meeting room, and it's that picture of Bill Murray pointing in a Stripes gear. It says,
from Stripes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Or yeah.
Pointing, and it says you're awesome, and it's something that somebody put there once, and it's in the room forever. So anyway, something was being said one day, and he goes, "There's something." Oh, and that guy up there. I said, "That guy up there. Do you know who that is?" He's like, "No." And a couple of us laughed because we were older and we knew that's Bill Murray, and he didn't know. So it's like, think about this. He's never seen Ghostbusters. He's none of this shit. You would think that somebody would know, but they don't.
No,
so
I mean, I guess
I don't care about pop culture modern, so therefore, I'm not going to know.
My story is not nearly as good as that one because that's Bill Murray. I mean, iconic, but I you can understand then. Mine is about. I brought him up on the show before because I actually compared Watson when Watson first started recording the show. I said, man, he produces the show so beautifully. It reminds me of a guy named Alan Cross who does the history of new music on CFFY, like 102.1 in Toronto, back in the day and whatever. And he's done it for years. And it's something right up our alley because he talks about the bands we love, Dave. Like, so it's something for sure that we would love. But so to bring this around, all of a sudden now the business I work for has brought him on board as a sound ambassador. And I'm like, fucking A, because I love listening to his podcast. The guy's a music aficionado. It's amazing. He answers any question that you ask him. Like, he's a great guy. And he's also like really like not just informative on music and has all the stories to tell and how it's evolved and whatever like that, but also presents it really great in an actual show. Better than what I'm doing right now describing it. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But where I'm going with it is I thought he was well known. The guy has a podcast. It's a well listened to, a popular podcast based on his show. The show itself plays out the songs that he'll lead into the music, whatever he's talking about, whatever, if it's, the history of punk, he'll talk about it and then lead into it and then the song will play out. And so what the podcast does, it's going to edit the song out. So it will show the intro to the song and they'll go right into the end part and then lead back to him talking. I don't know if it's a licensing thing or whatever, but the podcast is actually great. So I thought this guy was well known. Like, I would just assume he's well known. He's been brought out at a couple of our events. Half the people know who he is. Half. But he's just a popular disc jockey radio host. I would actually go beyond disc jockey and say radio host,
Yeah,
and a
right.
popular podcast, like, tier one, if you will,
Yeah.
podcast, and yet, no, like, still, maybe I'm just shocked, but just based on the fact that he was on the radio and his show actually talks about popular music would be great, but he doesn't talk about, like, he doesn't do it on Drake. His is about the ongoing history of new music, but it's typically like Pearl Jam, Foo Fighters, Muse, that type of thing. He even did Imagine Dragons, actually, even though he admitted on stage to hating them. That, like, he'll talk about them, and that won't skew his show itself. He won't put his personal theory on
Right.
that unless he really likes them and says, I have a relationship here with them or whatever. He just talks about the facts and the story and the evolution, if you will, whatever it may be, in the band's history, and then put it to music. Great show. It was just shocking how, like, we brought him now on two events, and the second event was a much younger crowd. Pretty much nobody in the room knew who he was. It was
See?
sad. It was sad. But it wasn't Bill Murray.
Well,
But it was still sad because everybody that we brought into that room was from the greater Toronto area. So has access to this show. It just shows you how musical tastes have changed, whether they've gone to just listen to Apple Music and only the bands that they like, or whether it's just that rock and roll is unfortunately in a slump right now. I don't think it is, but you know what I mean. From what's producing, like, all my bands, the ones I like, are still making music, and and have new albums either out or coming out. So I'm happy, but
okay.
for the most part, what I'm saying is that they're not getting the radio play that they once did.
No, but apparently he's still making money. So it's sad, and on one form, I guess it's a statement of society, but the guy's still
Yeah.
getting paid. The guy's still making a living. That's my dream job. What he's doing, I would love to freaking,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
well, he even said he never expected
Radio.
it to go this long. Like, he came up with this idea way back when in his story. He tells it, and then it just took off, and he's been doing it ever since.
And it's so hard to do because no matter what idea I have, if I have a great idea for a show and I put it out, it's only going to start small. The chance of something getting, even if I had the greatest idea for and I think I do have some good ideas for different shows and things I like to do. That one political show I think would have been excellent. Having a couple people in the middle, have representation from this side, from that side, different, races and everything, different genders and different sides of the political spectrum. Having a conversation to try to figure things out, and people, and a couple in the middle that aren't going to have a side, and then I think that would be really good as long as it was, and even if he had a controversial character on there, that might even add to you know, the lure for some. But I don't think it would go anywhere, and which is sad because even with a good idea like that, but that's a whole other thing. But I'll tell you this: I think it's because there's too much shit out there. There's too much access that basically everybody can stay in their
Too much
little
product.
circle and stick with the stuff that they love and not have to care about all these other things anymore. Once upon a time, you had to give what the machine gave you. That was it. 2, 4,
That's
and
true.
7. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
Now we have this. We have the channels. We have the music. We have
More
YouTube. We have
streaming
social media.
devices. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Right now, you can decide. You make a conscious decision. Say, hey,
Websites.
this is what I'm into. Um, I don't care about Dragon Ball Z and this and that. I care about
Imagine Dragon
AEW
Ball Z.
wrestling or something. I don't care about Dragon Ball Z or Imagine
Um,
Dragon Ball Z.
yeah.
You know, which is a
Or
ridiculous
Dave
name for
Z.
or him, aka David Letterman.
Yeah. I should
Yes,
share that to the page. I should just
that's
send it to you. Just made me
great
laugh.
stuff. That is great stuff. But I mean, again, you don't have to pay attention, so that's it. That's one of the good things about the world. That's one of the pros of social media and where we are right now, technology and all that other stuff. There's a lot of cons for sure, but one of the pros is that you could stay in your own
Horror
world
cons.
as
Sorry.
much as you want.
Whee!
You can stay in that world as much as you want. Of course, it can be addicting, where if that's all you do is talk about horror all day and all night, and all you do, and then you might even burn yourself out. So then it gets, but I mean, that's one way, or it could take over your life too much or something. But I mean, you don't have to pay attention to things you don't want to anymore. So I think that is a major pro. And that's kind of how I live my life. I have, like I always say, I go, if this place got bombed today, or I got quarantined for the rest of my life somehow, but healthy, Let's say it came to be that I had be disabled because of effects of COVID. Like
I don't
my
know why I'm
mind.
laughing. Sorry.
Well, no, it could happen. What if I got it again and my mind really got messed up with the effect? But I'm just saying, what if it
What if you
came to
got it
be
again? You
that
became like a scholar. What if it like worked? What if it fucked? And then you're like, like you became like the Tin Man after he got not the Tin Man,
the
uh,
scarecrow?
the Scarecrow.
Could you
After
imagine?
he got his brain, that's what COVID, the second round of COVID did for you. So wait,
Or
I don't want to be throwing out false information. This is all in a hypothetical world that Dave Z lives in, where
oh
Imagine
shit,
Dragons is not a band that anybody
right?
knows.
Ridiculous. But now, I can't believe it's not a kids band. All I can picture is like fucking
It practically
Kids
is.
Bop or fucking one of those shows you go to, like I said, some Disney on Ice or Ice Capades or something that like a traveling. What's those guys that used to travel around? The Wuzzles or shit like that or that. What was that called? Was it the Wuzzles?
Yeah, something like that. I,
These
I
guys
can't
in
remember.
that they
Teletubbies or
well
the.
not
There
tell it
was
was a
another one
show.
called Imagination Dragons. Imagination
Oh, well that's
Movers.
why.
Imagination Movers.
Imagination move. Okay, see, a title like that sounds to me like it's something that kids would go to see. Imagine Dragons, like for 4-year-olds. I don't know. What can I say? So, but what if, hypothetically, what if I did get COVID again? Maybe Frankie does have COVID, right? And I catch it, and this time it fucks my head so bad that I have to go on like a disability, and I can't go to work for some reason. I have dizzy, my mind, my memory. I literally, and I said this to my wife many times. I go, if I stayed home, I have enough entertainment under this roof to keep me busy for at least 20 years. At least. And watch things for the first and I could watch every freaking thing I have and everything that I have on the apps and anything I've dreamed of watching
Uh,
or listened to, and I would be okay. That's what I'm saying. There's enough we can have whatever the hell we want. That is a great thing to have. Again, that's why I don't bother with commercials. That's why I don't bother with things that in pop culture that I don't care about. I stay in my lane, so to speak. Because that
yeah.
makes
No,
me
it's I. That's what I was saying earlier. When I didn't say it. I was going towards this thought process, and of course, like usual, got derailed. Is saying that like, as much as I'm on top of watching the 2022 releases for that matter, other than the ones that are in the theater that I haven't seen right now, uh, I'm I'm almost saying like, but I see the things sitting in my display unit or Dawn of the Dead, and I'm like, fuck, I feel like putting that on again instead. But I'm like, I can't because that's it. There's just not enough time. I'm trying to watch these movies to feel like I've watched enough to say it, but I've already watched more than I said I was going to do. So I'm hitting myself because I also said I wanted to reserve time to play video games. I don't care what age I am. There's so
I
many
gave
games
up.
that I want to play, and that's the problem. It's just you can't have. There's just not enough time.
No. That's welcome to adulthood. So, 1987. Couple of things. Couple of things. I want to talk about the voting and
Is there a controversy?
well, apparently there's some kind of controversy because what I did was I looked not exactly when it ended, shortly after it ended. I think because a couple hours later, the poll ended. So I just clicked a thing and I saw who won and that was the end of it. You know.
Yeah,
So, but now there's a comment
that's
from
what I
Gary
did.
Miller at the bottom of it here. Now I have to, and I haven't even looked at this since, and I haven't looked at the poll since. I figured I would save it for the show. So listen to what. Okay. So this is Gary Miller, our good buddy here, who said after the poll ended, Near Dark and the Gate were tied for second, but now the Gate pulled ahead. How does that happen if the poll had already ended? Weird, huh?
Huh? That is
So
weird.
again, I don't know because I wasn't looking right at the moment that it ended. So by the time I did look, which was a few hours later, when I clicked on it, it was ahead. I don't know. There's no way to
Yeah.
tamper with it, right? And
And
we
it's too
don't
late
vote.
now because we watched the gate, but
Well,
that
yeah,
would have been a
but
good thing to have the Near Dark and the gate go head to head for that second spot because I would have been pushing for Near Dark personally, but it gave
yeah,
me a reason to watch the gate again, I guess.
the gate somehow won by a vote. We didn't vote on it, so you can't look at us. How did it happen? I don't know, unless there was a mistake and maybe Gary wasn't there right exactly when it ended. But why would he? Why would he be wrong? I don't know. All I could think is maybe somebody saw a tie being there, and shortly switched right then and it didn't register yet. But why wouldn't it register yet? There's no way to tamper with it. And if again, if one of us, if there would be a vote there for exploding heads, then someone would say, "Hey, look what they did." They'd rather watch
That
this than
Christian
this. But
asshole. But it would have gone into your dark then, so it wasn't me.
no, this is true. This is true. And I didn't really have a preference. I was okay with either one. I just didn't want to watch The Lost Boys, not because I don't like it, because I just watched it a couple weeks ago for the first time in like 10 years, by the way. Because it was one of those movies that I'm thinking maybe this should be on my top 100. Maybe it should. It seems like it's a movie that should. There's a couple movies that felt that. I'm like, yeah, I've always liked them.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to rate them high, they'd have a good score and everything. But I don't know. Let me go back and watch. So I had to go back and watch. You know what I mean? So, you know, but I just watched it. So like, I didn't want it to win, and I didn't want it to be the typical popular two, which I thought were gonna be the two vampire ones, because it's usually gone the popular route, except one time where we were surprised when we watched that one. What was that
I
one
was
that's
actually really surprised about this whole thing. I thought it was like you had it that Angel Heart. You brought up Angel Heart and the Believers at one point. I'm like, oh, that might take it. I
right?
thought for sure it was Near Dark and the Lost Boys. I thought
Yes.
for sure. There's no question. So I was really surprised about this.
Oh yeah, this time is a total surprise. Correct. But I mean, so far for this summer, the one surprise we had, there was only one. What was that one that we saw? The son of a gun. What was that one? It was the Giallo movie that we saw, not the Argento,
Oh, New York Ripper.
not New York Ripper. Nope, another one.
Why am
What
I
was that
drawing a
other one we
blank?
watched? That other Italian movie. Remember the guy and there's a switcheroo, like a dress to
Oh,
kill
oh,
type.
oh, Blade in the Dark.
Late in the Dark. That one surprised me that it got through. I
Yeah.
can't remember what the other options were, but I remember at the time thinking, "Oh wow, this movie is more popular than I thought." Other than that,
Well,
everything's gone
I think it's because we
very.
we did a lot of the movies from that year. Sorry for cutting you off. Just I
Oh
think
yeah,
that may have been the reason of what we were left with. It became the popular choice.
slim pickings. Okay,
Yeah.
it is possible. I just didn't know that was a popular, you know, test. That was a popular. I'm looking at the email. Frankie's gonna go for a COVID test. So, which I want the home one.
Okay.
Why do I want her to go now and then I don't find out for a day or two? If I get a home one now and she has it, then what happens with me and work? Do they say go to work and wear a mask? Do they say not go to work? I don't know what the hell happens. I legit don't know where it's at now. So
Where it's at? I
where
got
it's
two turntables and a microphone.
at. Right on.
It's the
Okay,
weirdest shit pops into our head song
all
wise.
the time, constantly. So there's Frankie's test coming up on the way. One more thing, one more. So Gary, sorry, we don't know how it could have happened. We're not behind it. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't have a preference over Near Dark or The Gate. Honestly, I probably would have wanted to watch Near Dark. The only thing The Gate had going for it was that it was shorter. I believe. I always known The Gate to be a short movie. How long is Near Dark?
I believe I can fly.
No,
Are we allowed
hour
to sing that anymore?
34. Hour 24. Sing what you. Are you kidding me? People still freaking. I had a conversation with a friend, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he's not canceled, and this and that, and people in the black community still celebrate him like it's nothing, and I don't understand why."
So,
And
R. Kelly
yeah,
Day.
yeah, it's a they haven't canceled him, considering, but whatever. That's a whole other topic. So that's it. There was one thing I just happened to see something when we took our 2 minute break, which I thought was an interesting tidbit, and it's just simple as this: Films at Home, which is a good what do you call it, YouTube page, because he reviews like a lot of 4Ks and talks about different things. He put this post up on Instagram. 4K UHD continues to hit over 10% of physical media sales, a giant metric for the format, which was in the 5 to 6% share last year. So, according to this year so far, top 50 disc sellers, week ending September 17th, 2022. DVD 58.1. So DVD
For,
still leads the
holy
pack,
shit.
okay?
That's
A
why Walmart's
Blu-ray,
all DVD. It's the weirdest fucking thing.
it's Walmart here is like 70% DVD, but that we have blue. So
Fucking crazy.
31% blue, 31.5, and 10.3 UHD. I'll tell you
Okay.
that 10% is something, but it's still not where you would have thought. Not to be negative on it, but when I look at that, yes, it did grow though. I mean, overall from last year, I guess it's up 4% or something like that. So it is growing, but I think it's the same people that are going to buy them all. But
Do
I
you
don't know.
think? Do you think we'll get a UHD of UHF?
We better.
That was a Brandon joke through and through. So he still
Yes.
channels himself through us.
Oh, for sure. He started that whole thing for sure. UHD. Oh, time's running out too. It's October. We're gonna know Halloween is gonna be around in a month, and we'll
Ding
know then what our
dong,
answer is
ding
gonna be.
dong.
So
Yeah,
yeah, last minute people hand in your whatchamacallits.
that includes
Your,
me.
oh yeah,
I
whatever.
gotta give
You're
you
you're
my thing.
special. You can
I'm
take time.
special.
It's okay. I'm trying to do like one movie a day, so it does take time, but I'll get it all done. There's some cool surprises already so
I
far.
believe
But
I can fly. I'll tell you this. I'm sorry. I know we're going on to the. Why is that fucking song even in my head? I'm not. I
why?
Yeah, and
Because I
I
said
always
I
thought.
believe.
Yeah, that's probably it. And I, for the longest time, thought that was Seal. I had no clue it was R. Kelly. So I'm like,
Seal. Wow.
Seal. Like I thought that was a Seal song. Like,
Interesting. Yes.
so,
But we're never gonna
oh, it's horrible.
survive unless that him. We get a little crazy. Is he married to what's her name? Or are they still married?
No, that was way long ago. I know who you're talking
Okay.
about. The
Buddy, I don't know.
supermodel girl.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
oh
Claudia
shit.
Schiffer?
No, no, but I can't remember her name for the life of me. She's on America's Got Talent, I think. So Heidi
Oh, yeah.
Klum.
Heidi Klum.
Klum.
Yes.
Anyway,
Claudia wouldn't.
fuck all of that shit.
Yeah.
Let's get down to fucking business. Unless there's something. Oh, and by the way, fuck you, Gary Miller. That's, I'm kidding, Gary Miller. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened either. Trust
Oh.
me, I would have rather watched Near Dark. Not that I have any hate for the gate,
Ha.
but let's be honest here. I guess this is a nostalgia movie for a lot of people. It should be a nostalgia movie for me too. It hit right at that time frame we were talking about. Yet I'm lukewarm on this movie. It's fine. It's fine, but there's so many fucking questions and an unanswered thing. I mean, the kids are fine, the movie's fine, the effects for the time are fine, but it doesn't blow me away. It's a great gateway horror, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, hold on now. Let me say this about it. The Gate is the kind of movie, and
I
you've
guess we'll
heard me
start with the
say
gate,
this.
by the way.
Well, why not? You've heard me say this before. There are some movies that when I see them on my shelf and I'm trying to decide what to watch, that I never say, "Oh, I want to watch that movie." It never
Yeah,
happens. I wasn't even excited to watch The Gate, but it's one of these movies that once I put it in and once a little time goes, I'm like, okay, I like this movie now. But when I think
just a
about it,
tip.
yeah, when I think about it before I'm watching it, it's never like I'm in the mood to watch it. I never am in the mood to watch it. But when I start watching it, I'm like, okay, I like it, and I did get enjoyment out of it. I'll tell you what. What I really appreciated this time around is how dark it gets. For being, I mean, it's darker than Gremlins. It's scarier. There are
From
things
the
that go
halfway
on here.
point on. Yep,
Yes,
true.
it's PG-13, but I'll tell you, it. Bottom line is, hell on earth is actually happening, and that's pretty scary shit when it's going down. And the effects are kind of like Evil Dead light. So it's done in a way where it's more, yes, it's kids. I mean, the zombie guy himself, the guy in the wall, looked a little bit kiddie to me in the way he moved and stuff, looked a tad bit hokey, like something from the movie like House. You know, the original House, Sean Cunningham, where it's a little
Yep,
bit playful. It kind of gave me that vibe a little bit, but the things that do go down and when the horror does go down with the stuff with the parents and everything ripping off the face, just some of the way the gore stuff plays out is it's downright scary. It's more what you're prone to see in a rated R movie.
true.
So I
I
dig
can't
that,
disagree with. Yeah, I think
you
that
know.
too, and that's what gives it. I think elevates it between. So you're afraid. So you're afraid of the dark, or Goosebumps, or whatever it might be. If you're afraid of the whatever the fuck that show's called, the
So
Goosebumps.
you're afraid of the dark. So you think you can dance. I love that.
So you're afraid of the
Don't
dark.
be afraid of the dark. Don't be afraid of it,
Don't
it's
be-
called. So you're afraid of the dark. That's good as like
yeah,
a psychiatrist.
yeah,
That should be a show. Guys come in
so
talking to a
anyway.
psychiatrist about their scares, and that's what that chapter's about.
Oh
That'd be
shit, skits. Yeah,
you're a
I'm telling
psychiatrist.
you, you're right though. Like I mean, Dead Dog is haunting.
It's
Like
funny
there's
though.
there's some fucking there's funny stuff too. But you're at the halfway point. This movie kicks into gear, and it's definitely more horrific than Gremlins. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, man.
So I'll give that edge, but again, it just I I like it for certain aspects, but I can't. I don't love it. It's just a perfectly acceptable time waster. I love the cover art. I love like that poster was always cool,
Yeah.
and I give it mild credit, but I don't. It never blew me away. And remember, this is like you were talking about. We don't blow things. This was a homegrown Canadian movie.
Ah.
Yeah. But it was always just been good. I've never disliked it, but it's never been elevated to that great level for me. It's just been like something to watch, and I, like you said, never feel like I want to ever put it on. So
Right.
the fact that it won, great. I would have rather, like I've mentioned 3 times already, been Near Dark, but it gave me an excuse to rewatch this again. And although we never really officially announced it, let me maybe announce it then.
Yeah. Go for it.
The Gate, 1987, when Al and Glenn, sorry, I'm reading it off my phone, so bear with me because it's much smaller type. When their parents leave for the weekend, Al uses the opportunity to throw a party while little brother Glenn and his friend Terry decide to explore a hole left by a tree removal service in their backyard. When unexplainable phenomena begin to occurring, Terry, with the help of his extensive heavy metal music collection, comes to the conclusion that he and Glenn have accidentally opened a gateway to hell. And I apologize, folks, but it's the fine print, and
I believe that. Yeah.
I had to kind of zoom it in a little bit with my
No,
fragile eyes.
we've
Um,
covered this. Yep.
yeah, I
And
apologize.
and I wasn't laughing at you. I giggled a little bit because I looked at my notes and I saw something in the notes that made me laugh. Because there's a couple in the midst of terror in this movie. There, there are some things for me, but they're cruel, but they're unintentionally funny for me because of the way they're presented. And I looked at the note and it said "rips out light." LOL. You know that scene
Yeah,
when he
when he
rides?
falls out and he pulls the line, like why did he go to that extent? I laughed too. It's like he could have just fallen. He's levitating. Everybody's able to explain this away. No one's freaked out by it. Like he's up in the fucking air.
Yeah, he's
He's
like
not
help.
just like an inch
Right.
off the ground. Guy's floating through space. Lights a light, pulls it out, and everybody's like, I don't know what happened there. It's illusions, smoke and mirrors. Sorry, I keep hitting my. It's bound to happen at some point. Might as well be now. That made me laugh. Another one is
Yes.
when shit hits the fan. I don't even remember what point it is. My one note was, demons. What kind? Like that makes a fucking difference. Like they're trying to. Her question is demons. What kind of demons? Before I worry.
Well, not actually the type that you would see in not with horns on their head and pitchforks. More like what you see in a Fulci movie or the Baba movie. Imagine if they said that. That would have been cool.
It's
What kind?
it is crazy. Like what a
What
fucking
kind of
question to ask. It was the weirdest question. That's my only note
Oh,
from the movie. Demons?
oh,
What kind?
oh man. Yeah, that's funny. That's your only note from the movie?
That's my only note.
Amazing.
And
Well,
well,
I got
I
nothing
have
for
other
you.
questions. Like this is one of those movies, and the '80s love to do this too, where it ends. Yet there's so much shit. Like what happens when parents? Hey, how do the parents go away? 16 years old. There's no way I was letting my kids stay at home away for alone on the weekend at 16.
In the 80s?
Well, okay.
Maybe.
This is the funny part. We say, and we always throw that out. In the 80s, it was a different time. I guess you're right. In the 80s, maybe.
Maybe.
I think
16?
17, 18, maybe. Like
Is that what
18,
she's
you're an
supposed to be?
adult.
She's
She
16?
she said that she keeps going on about it. I'm 16. I'm 16. I'm 16.
Okay. All right.
And they leave her away. That was weird. And just to get the parents out of there for the weekend. And then the fact that there's a huge fucking hole in their house at the end of the movie, fade to black. Everybody's happy because the demons are done, but the parents haven't come home to see the fucking big hole and the house in disarray. I was like, this is going to open up like, yeah, we
Oh,
opened up a pathway to hell and had to destroy some demons, mom and dad.
you
Sorry,
did.
sorry for the house.
I understand your confusion. Okay, you didn't actually
Confusion.
see. Well, no, well, confusion because you think that that's the actual end. They actually shot a different ending. It's on the disc. It's on the Vestron with the alternate ending scenes and extra scenes. You had the Vestron disc?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, ultimately, what happens is they filmed a different ending, which took place. You know how they have all that smoke and stuff when they come outside, and then
Yeah.
it gets dark. It's almost like the ending of Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit when they walk out of the door and you see the smoke and oh, hey, this is the new day, whatever. And then
Yeah.
all the stuff happens.
We
Then you
hit
see
rock bottom.
the music kicks in and everything. Right, the rock bottom. Well, in the other cut, the parents actually pull in the driveway. They get outside. They see what they see
Into the
that
hole.
there's
Whoa, shit!
actually better.
Whee!
Actually better. Believe it or not, they
Believe
come
it or
home.
not, I'm walking on it. I'm sorry. It's one of those days today.
That's fine. Do it. Do it. Do it. No, they come home. The mother. They walk over to the hole. They ask the they ask the kid what the hell happened here, and they try to explain. She goes, "Come here. I want to show you what's in the hole." And they go over to the hole, and the mother pushes the fucking daughter in the hole, and then they take what's his name, the kid, Steven Dorff, upstairs, and they fucking beat the shit out of him.
Are you bullshitting right now?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I could have kept it going too.
And beat, beat it would have been better if they, but it would have been great if they pulled up and said, "What the fuck's going on there?" And they're like, "Come here, you got to like, don't go there, don't go there." And the mom's like looking at it, and the kids come. It's like so beautiful. They come up, and then she just pushed the two kids in. That would have been a
She
fantastic
pushed the
ending.
one kid in, and the movie
Yeah.
ends like this: a slow motion spanking, like over the knee, in a bedroom, and the kid crying because he's a great crier. Which
Yeah.
reminds me, I gotta play this thing for you. Something else funny. Remember that scene when when all the bugs go on the window and it breaks through and he's wiping the bugs away from
Yeah.
the like brown butterflies and bugs and shit. Well, he runs outside, right? I'm gonna play you a clip, and I want you to tell me what he's saying because it's actually funny. Wait a minute, this is good. Hold on. What did
Does
that
it say
sound like to
help?
you?
Help? What do you think it said?
Here's the funny thing. He's calling out his sister. He calls her Al. L is short for Allie or Al will say
Yeah.
whatever. Al. But if you listen to what I thought he was saying ow. Like the bugs hurt him when they bite. He goes ow, ow.
Ah.
I had to rewind it like 3 times. Listen to the picture of him saying ow over bug bites. Hold on. Doesn't it sound like ow, ow?
I'm hearing green brain, or what was that? The brain scan. I can't remember. I can't remember what I was supposed to get.
Robot.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh fuck.
green jelly.
Green needle.
Uh,
Green
green
needle.
needle. Yeah,
What was the other one? Green needle or something? Son of a.
yeah, it's something else. Who gives a fuck? It's. I don't know, man. There is some horrific shit here. It's a fast-paced movie. The little creatures are kind of
I
cool.
love them. I
I
love
like
that
when
shit.
when the zombie creature falls down and then they all scatter. That was like I think the famous scene from the
Yes.
movie.
So
Like if there was
cool.
like one sort of sequence that you take from that, it was when that thing fell down to the ground
Yep.
and they scattered away. Uh, yeah. So I mean, it's entertaining, but there's not so much. There's not a lot to say about it. It
No,
kind of
there's not a lot
happens. And,
about either
like
movie.
but I do like how they make the sister and the brother like there's heart, there's a family element. They care about
Yes.
each other. I
She's
like that
great.
aspect, and
Yes.
like they make the parents likable. They're not like negligent parents by any means,
Right.
but they're
Right.
just they're going away and we're gonna invite a babysitter, and they're like, oh come on, we could do it, and of course they have a party, but it's just weird, and then. They bring in those girls again, and the girls really don't add any other element to the movie, to be honest. They just scream a lot. They're there with them with the flashlights, and then there's kind of like they leave with the guys after.
But it's typical. I like it.
Yeah,
There's a slumber party. Of course, how long till guys crash it? That's what you're gonna do when you're a kid. Yes, you're gonna have a party, or you're just gonna have a slumber party and have like a few people over. But she had the party. She did the typical thing. Luckily everything was okay. And then of course that kicked off levitation and everything. But then the next night, that makes sense. Friday night we'll party. Saturday night we're gonna have a slumber party, and of course, the boys are gonna crash it eventually,
yeah.
and they do. But
Okay,
this is what I like about Allie as a character, and that's what I'm saying. That
kicks them out.
she doesn't do the typical sister stuff. She doesn't blow him off and say, "Oh, you're on your own, buddy. I'm gonna hang out with the girls and the guys." You know what I mean? She is a good big sister. She even spends her own money to buy him that rocket. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
what a sweet girl. She stayed true for once.
True blue.
Usually, even in the '80s, you used to see that a lot. The older sibling would just kind of blow off the younger sibling.
And that's
You know, and
probably why that's what I liked about it. It's that heart element. Like I said,
yeah,
I'm a sucker for it, and they do it well, and they have those tender moments and everything else, and that works. And they give enough for Terry's character to, I guess his mom died, right? His mom died, and it seems
yes,
like
a
his
year
dad's a
prior,
little absent, and so he's been
by
spending all his
yeah,
time there. So
right,
he got into that beautiful heavy metal, which I liked. I mean, I
right,
like that
yeah,
aspect too because he's kind of like the the one that knows what's going on. But there are just kind of weird elements to it. But like I said, it's a pleasant enough time waster. I hate saying that, but that's kind of how I look at it. There's no next level here, but there's a lot of the movies I love don't necessarily have multi levels to them. They're just enjoyable. It's just how does it resonate with you? And this watch was good. I enjoyed it, but I was laughing at it more than I was like scared at it, whatever. But that's what brought me the enjoyment level
there's
as
there's
well.
there's two halves. Like you said, the second half is one thing, the first half is one, and I enjoyed it more than I had before. So I can say that. Like going into it, I was like, okay, whatever. But I got more from it this time. I have always loved those little creatures and stop motion stuff and all. I've always been a big fan of that type of stuff in my movie. So it's
Yeah.
cool. That all works. But
Well,
now seeing the heart to it, I like that. All these Lovecraftian stuff, which is really cool because they talk about the old gods, and the kid even says this is before the Bible, and it's funny because this is what's so true and what I like about it. That when you see the pictures in the album, they're basically portrayed as like the old school horned devil. So that's not really. It's almost like from a biblical point of view, as opposed to Lovecraft with the old gods. But ultimately, what we do get at the end, it's more like this is like these elements that people don't know. They talk about the old gods and this and that and everything else, and they show pictures of them as actual demons, but they're really not. They're monsters. They come out so, but that's what humans would do. They wouldn't think about Lovecraft characters or this band that did it or what they look like, with tentacles and shit. They would think about the typical demon because that's what they know from the Bible. Okay,
eh,
these are they're below, they're the old gods. They're gonna come out and they're gonna be demonic and they're gonna. If you look inside the album, it's like red devils and shit. But
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
what comes
You're
out,
right,
which is
and
cool.
and again, and that elevates it too. And the fact that they have the big monster at the end that
Yeah,
was a great like again that
it's
reminded
like
me of
Goro.
like Clash of the Titans or
Yeah,
the old Sinbad movies with not Jingle All
Candyman.
the Way Sinbad.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
part two.
yeah,
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 right. I got you. Sinbad the
yeah,
Sailor for sure, man.
yeah. Or
Jason and the
Seventh Voyage of
Argonauts.
Sinbad, or yeah, and Jason and the Argonauts and
Yeah,
all that
that
shit.
Harryhausen
Like
shit.
Yeah, Harryhausen, like that style. And again, so
Love it.
in a decade that was dominantly slasher, not all slasher as we've described, but dominantly that in zombie, it was kind of nice that this went into the monster movie realm and focused on that. And I guess delivered on that because I like those little monsters and I like the big monster that comes out at the end. And they
Yeah.
set it up that you just knew a rocket was going to have to come into play at some point to save the day. I mean, it was set up right from
Oh,
the beginning and gone through. So from that standpoint, it's enjoyable. I just like again, I kind of think maybe a cap or maybe the happy ending of them all hugging is great because
I
they
love it.
conquered evil. But that
Believe it or not.
extra element of like the parent driving home, maybe not beating the kid upstairs, but driving home and it's just like, what the fuck happened here? And like, like I don't know, maybe one extra element, but the story is done here. Just the consequences of everything that happened or the fallout of where they're left, still needs to be explained. And they don't talk
Hey,
about that in Gate 2 from my memory of it anyway. Maybe they
well,
do.
look,
Maybe I got to go revisit Gate 2.
maybe, huh? Maybe just to find out. Right? I don't know anything about Gate 2. I don't even know if I've even seen it. But look at it this way.
It's on
What
the
about
drive-in.
the ending of
Funny enough,
Poltergeist? Wow, really?
back in the day, yeah, it was
That's
a
cool.
second bill with, again, I assume Night of the Living Dead remade. I'm trying to remember. I've talked about this
Oh,
on the show again too, because I went to the drive-in a couple times. One time was to see Freddy's Dead, and the other time was to see The Gate 2, and I think Night of the Living Dead. If it was 1990, that's what I'm assuming the two movies were.
okay. going to find out right now. It's got a 4.7 rating. It's funny because the Gate 2 looks like the cover of the movie The Curse, even to the writing. Look.
Was Gate 2 90 or 91? Yeah.
Isn't it weird?
It looks like the Curse. You're right.
Yeah, even the writing. It's so odd. The Gate 2, see, 1990. The Gate 2 Trespassers, the original title. Yeah. So let's see. Is anybody in it from the first one? No. Terry.
I thought Terry is. Yeah.
He is. Yeah. He's the lead now. I love when that happens in movies. The guy that was like the second or third fiddle becomes the lead. I love that. Yeah. So you got Terry to tie it up.
You can jiggle all the way.
So let's see what it says. I just want to look at the 14 summon forth a diminutive demonic minion from the other side to do their bidding and grant wishes, but of course they must ultimately pay the price. Okay, this is better. It's been 5 years since Terry's friend Glenn discovered the gate to hell in his backyard. Glenn has now moved away, and Terry begins practicing rituals in Glenn's old house, and eventually bringing back demons through the gate and leading to demoniac, whatever, possession and near-world death. What a fucking idiot Terry is. He was an idiot to begin with. Even think about this. When did they learn nothing?
It's all that 80s metal he listened to.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, fucking metalhead. Did he learn nothing from Jordy Verrill in Creepshow? When they decide to break open that freaking thing, the kid even says this is worth money. Why is he trying to break it open?
They think the crystals inside, I think, are what are worth it, like the crystallization factor. I think that's what they're trying to get to.
You nunkhead. I don't know. All I thought is that when I
nunkhead.
Saw that, that's what he says in Creepshow.
Yeah.
Jody Verrill, you nunkhead. That's what I'm thinking of as I'm watching it. I'm like, son of a bitch, you know? He's got meteor shit, the whole nine. Unbelievable. So they learn nothing from that. I'll tell you what, the beginning of the movie, this is fucked up. This has happened to me before. You know how he wakes up and there's a chainsaw? And he wakes up and he sees someone with a chainsaw outside, and there's a chainsaw in his dream. That happened to me in Vegas the first time I moved out there. I was having a dream. Leatherface was chasing me with a chainsaw, and then this is what happened. I woke up, and there was somebody below my window with it wasn't a chainsaw. I don't think it might
like hedge clippers or something like that.
Something that made a similar type of noise, and they were actually outside the house. But isn't that weird how dreams are? Like I must have heard that in my dream as I was asleep, heard it, and it incorporated its way into my dream, and then it became a chainsaw at Leatherface. So I never thought to tell that story until I saw this movie. I'm like, oh wow, that happened to me. So that was something. I'm gonna call bullshit on that rocket. I bought those rockets time and time again. They never did anything like that. You're lucky if it was 10 feet off the ground. I was so mad seeing this. The first time it went off, perfect. Without
it's like a bazooka.
Right. It was awesome. The parachute opens. It looks like it got shot up fucking 500 feet.
Yeah. Didn't he do one of those?
He did one of these. All right.
That's what it was. Yeah.
No, he didn't. But you know who did that?
Wait. All right. That's from Karate Kid, isn't it?
And does this. Nope. I'm going to give you a hint. Something happens. Not even
right. It's a Friday the 13th.
Yep.
It's a Friday the 13th.
Such an 80s moment that he would do that too. Over that.
Fuck. Oh, fucking Teddy from Final Chapter.
Very good. And he literally only does it because someone swings on a rope and drops into the water. Yeah.
Naked.
How great are the 80s?
Or was that before it was naked? No, that was before Skinny Dip was announced.
Skinny Dip. Yep. See, but doesn't that just speak everything you need to know about 1984? Somebody got excited about somebody just swinging on a rope and dropping in the water enough to make them go, all right, and do that with their hands. Shit, now nobody gets excited about shit.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. They'll criticize it. They'll be filming. They'll be too busy trying to film it.
You're right. Trying to film it.
They get a TikTok.
So, yeah, I got to call bullshit on the rocket, but whatever. But I got to tell you, every time, and this time I thought I wasn't going to laugh because of my care for animals and pets and everything is being different. But every fucking time that Terry kid has that situation. Because here's what's funny about it. Not the fact that his mother died, not the fact that he was tricked. The fact that when he looks at the dog and when he drops the dog, it's clearly a stuffed animal. And there's for no reason the dog dies. Why would the dog die? Can you imagine this happening? You wake up and
he was old.
I know he was old, but
Why? But why? Yeah, why do they have the Nightmare on Elm Street ending where everybody comes back from the dead? Everybody's fine at the end. The
well, hold on.
dog's even fine.
Yeah, because things had already been put into motion that caused the dog to die and to cause him to have that dream. Didn't that
Okay.
happen before? Don't tell me that dream just happened just because it happened. Like he was dreaming about his mother and he picked up the dog and the fucking dog died. Why would you even pick up the dog? The dog would have to have been standing there, like on its hind
Well,
legs, coming to
he
you,
was
right?
he was bamboozled. He was
Yeah, but
the
so
demons
okay, that
bamboozled him.
so what I'm saying is the gate had already been partially opened then that caused that to happen, right? It didn't just happen for no reason. Like if this wasn't going on, would that have happened? I
No.
want to say it was after the whole, after he bled, like 2 of the 3 steps were done, and the dog became the third sacrifice, the third thing to kick it off or
It's
something.
something like, yeah, you're right. That was
He had
the
levitated already, correct? Had he already levitated, or was it before the kid levitated? Because if so, it's
no,
bullshit.
after the kid levitated.
Okay, so it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Now they're toying with this kid.
The kid levitating is like earlier on. And again, like nobody makes a big deal about that. That kid was like fucking like, floating through the fucking
I know, it
skies.
sure was.
I mean, inside a house, but still,
But still,
I would have been freaked the fuck out. I would have left that party immediately. I know me. I'd be like, okay, I would have snuck out the back door, making no noise. I'm gone home.
I
I just saw
agree.
some crazy shit.
Somebody flying? Yeah, and grabbing a light and falling. Because now you know there's destruction on the
I
house.
ain't paying for that light.
Right, because the cops are going to come. It's a party. What if the cops are called and someone thinks who's responsible for busting up this house? Let me take the
Yeah.
names of the kids that are here. Next thing you know, you got a problem. You always everyone knows when you're a kid. If you're at a house party and the parents are out of town, first sign of trouble, you get the fuck out.
You get out of
Parents
Dodge.
are coming.
Yeah,
You're gone. So yeah, I mean
that's it.
that's no good. So I mean I don't know. There's a couple bad words in this movie, words that we can't use anymore. That were used a
Yeah,
lot.
I was shocked. Again, that
I
was
wasn't
like,
shocked.
I
It
guess,
was the time,
yeah.
the 80s.
Again, those movies, like it was running rampant in PG-13 movies too. It just
For
seemed to
sure.
be, yeah,
Yeah, a couple of them. A couple of words that we can't say now. I 100% had that one Walkman that the girl was laying down that had the silver one with the 2 buttons that are on top of it that you actually push. So I recognize an old Walkman. The shit with the parents is freaky as hell. The fake thing when he thinks they come home and he hug them. That's dark,
oh,
man. That's
yeah,
but ultimately, all that stuff, man, all that stuff that happens when hell on Earth comes is so dark and scary. It's like something you'd see in. It's like it's more serious than a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. Like serious, like anything from like 4 and on. I mean, it's to be taken more serious. It's actually creepy. What about when what's his name gets that freaking thing in his eye after he goes
yeah,
the doll eye and freaking rips his eye out? That's some
oh yeah,
shit,
yeah.
dude.
And
Yeah,
it was done like you're. I'm surprised they got away with the three
me
PG-13,
too.
but I guess they cut away so they didn't focus in it long enough. But it was very effective because of that as well.
Absolutely. And then
When he
we have
comes back and
Krampus.
starts biting the guy's hand, I start laughing my head off a little bit
It's a
too.
little bit funny, but still, he goes, "Hey, what does he say? Remember me? Not remember me." And he goes, he says some type of comment. I forgot what it was. It was cool. How about Krampus? Probably took that from this. The different thing happened, but he says, take me instead. Give them back." You know, he says that towards the end. He's a good character too, and he does have a funny movie when they find the girls in the freaking in the closet when he thinks it's all over, and he's like,
Yeah,
what did they ask him? They say, I forgot what they asked him. And he goes, no. He goes, we're all dead. Welcome to heaven. He tells them,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But if you look at him face there, he looks like he's laughing for real from his
right.
joke. It's just a moment that you catch, or sometimes you're just like, that looks like that was off script, or maybe the line was in script, but he liked the way he delivered it, or someone made a face and he just starts laughing as he says it. It's a funny moment. I like
Yeah,
that too.
it's good. It's
Well,
it's
you
a
are
joke.
talking to me like I was like, and I'm not trying to get to my. I'm just saying you're talking to me up because I remembered all the good, and like I said, I always do like this, like give a slight edge to the movies that push towards like something different than the times, and like that's why I think I loved Hellraiser so much, come from
Oh
that
boy.
from same year, and this is no different with the fact that monsters was the focus, and it was ambitious, and I don't want to fault it for that. I just feel like again, I don't praise it as much as a lot of other horror fans do, but I don't hate the movie by any means. It's a, like I said, I try not to say what I've been saying over and over again. I enjoy my time with it, but I have no interest to put it on necessarily out of the blue. to
I
rewatch.
would have said that. I would have said that until last night. No, and I took more out of it this time. Like I said, the second half and the hell on earth and that smoke coming up into the freaking when you look up. That's fucking scary shit. I have dreams about that sometimes, like apocalyptic
Yeah.
thing, and it's always a scary thing. You know, like holy
Maybe I'll
shit.
show my
And
son this one. Like he might
imagine the
dig it.
feeling. What's that?
Yeah. Maybe I'll show Christian this one because he,
Yeah,
although he's watched scarier movies,
yeah, but
like
still.
this might resonate a bit more with him too. So
Absolutely, man. It is downright scary in those scenes. And there's two things I want to add to it. The feeling that this kid would get, young Steven Dorff, I forget his name. Not
Glenn,
Steven Dwarf, as opposed to his buddy who had
I
the
never
short.
remember the names. Like that was a Brandon thing to
Yeah,
do. See,
you're
Glenn,
right. Yep.
Glenn, Al, and Terry. I never remember the fucking names of movies.
Glenn, Al, and Terry. There, now I remember. Okay. So Glenn is Steven Dwarf, and Terry has on that patch on his back that says Killer Dwarfs. Remember Killer Dwarfs?
Yeah, Killer
Yeah.
Dwarfs.
I
Yeah.
never listened to him because I don't like the name of it. I'm like, Killer Dwarfs, what a ridiculous sounding metal name. Little fucking things. That doesn't appeal to me. So I never listened to him, I got to admit. So,
Killer
but even
Leprechauns
then-
would have been fun. Yeah.
no, there's nothing threatening about fucking small things, I guess. At least from a rock band perspective. I want to see fucking demons, real fucking scary
Yeah.
shit. Come on, not a dwarf. Or a dwarf for that matter. So now,
Killer Dwarf.
Killer Dwarf. Killer Dwarfs. Steven. I don't even know. What the hell was I going to say about these? Keep this in mind. The feeling that this poor bastard gets a couple times about he's responsible basically for the end of the world. There's something to that. It's fucking scary, man. When it is hell and he looks outside, he's like, oh my God, this is all because of me. And the stuff that goes on with Terry, and it's only a little subtle thing, but he goes home, he gets the note
Yeah.
on the fridge, father's gone for the weekend, and then you look around the room and his father's not, it's unkempt. He's not keeping up with it. The kid just
Oh
takes
yeah,
a
it's
pizza in an old box and eats it. I'm like, man, this poor bastard. So the wife passed away. The father probably didn't get over it, or he was just a lazy bastard to begin with or something, just didn't give a shit. We don't know. But that's all irrelevant. The position this kid is in now compared to like a year or two before, which it's a nice neighborhood. He's probably in suburbia, living a life just like his neighbors are. But now all of a sudden, he's living it's like he's living in a rundown trailer park. But by the looks of his house and shit, I mean the interior, it looks.
that's what I'm saying.
it's
They
sad.
do a good job with that one scene, like
Yeah.
explaining, quite a bit of like what he's living with and why he's always at his buddy's house. And they do
Right,
like
and
I
why
like
he
that. I
acts
like
that way.
camaraderie. I like when they have a best friend or whatever, and
Yeah.
then usually there's a moment in the movie where they either have a rift or in this case he goes demonic, and then everything gets pulled out and you get in this case you get the Cinderella ending. Like I said, the night you kind of summed it up with the Nightmare on Elm Street, but I don't know. It I was at a 6.5. You brought me up to a 7.
Nice.
I think like I said, it's a good movie. It's I was just maybe a little bit more like since I don't really have to watch it again, I'll probably be at a 6.5. But I don't want to take I do want to kind of put a spotlight on those things that I do like the monster element, the fact that that it's got heart and characters that you care about. That's better than most movies that are out there.
Right. And what a great
In that
year
regard, I mean.
87 was. If you look, I didn't think about it until I made this list and saw the movies that we already covered. I'm like, wow, 87, pretty freaking solid year there. So, yeah, this is the best time I've had with it, honestly. Like I said, I had a real good time watching it last night, and like it takes a little time to get there, but once you get to the second half, it's great. But I think a lot of people like the stuff in the first. Just
Well, you need
next
it.
time I watch it,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
the heart, like we were saying. There, you kind of need that to give the weight to the second half as well. So
And next time I might not be as high. A movie's only as good as the last time
Yeah.
you watched it. But this is the highest I've been. I'm with an 8.
nice.
Really enjoyed it. That really got scary, man. That hell on earth shit, man. I can't get over that. Wow, that's going there.
Yeah,
Some things happen.
that part didn't. I mean, I like you saying it. Yeah, it's true. It just
You
didn't
look up and-
resonate with me when we were watching that. When I was watching it the other night. But it's like I said, it's a fast-paced movie. There's no they got the sort of pace down quite a bit. Although you said it takes some time to get there. Like I said, it's still not boring shit that you're watching. It clicks along pretty much right out of the gate. You're right out of the gate.
I'm gonna see part 2 now.
Woo. Yeah.
It's probably a piece of shit, but I want to see part 2.
Funny enough, there is something to do with shit. I remember shit being in the movie.
Terrifier?
No, Gate 2.
So instead of a dead
There's a
dog,
shit monster, or
it's
there's
dog
something
shit.
with shit in
Oh,
it. I
don't
just
say
remember it.
that. It's gonna be like Weird Science. That thing at the end. Sorry for being such a shit to you all these years. There's gonna be a
No,
talking shit. I don't want to see that.
I don't remember her talking shit.
Okay,
But
but a shit monster?
I can't remember. There's something to do with
I gotta
shit though.
watch it now just for the fecal fascination. Okay, I need to
Fecal
do that.
fascination. All right. Well, wait. Let's bring us into the next one. I'm not
Yeah.
prepared. Let me see if I can bring it up on my computer. I always have better luck when I bring it up on my computer because the type is not as brutal. IMDb is now working again. Perfect.
Yes.
And our next movie, if I can actually, every time, my computer hesitates while we're on recording. I never hesitates. I think it's because I'm running the other programs while we're doing it. It always seems to hesitate.
Too much
But
at once.
Angel Heart is our next movie, 1987. I have no clue. I guess in Europe it was rated X. In
Huh.
Britain, I don't know. Yeah, next rating here. A private investigator is hired by a man who calls himself Louis Cipher, to track down a singer named Johnny Favorite. But the investigation takes an unexpected and somber turn.
Interesting stuff.
Directed by
Wow.
Alan Parker, as I mentioned earlier. We talked about his filmography. This is interesting stuff because it's a kind of like, I guess this is kind of like a Giallo-esque setup with the look and everything else, but it's kind of more done like a crime movie thriller for the majority of the movie. It's the revelation. It's the answers to what he's been investigating that actually turned it into a horror film, and who's hired him and where he is essentially, and that's what elevates the movie too.
Oh
As I
my
said it earlier,
gosh.
right? It's
Wow.
but you also have Mickey Rourke, who is great in this and is great in most of the things that he does. And I just have to say this: did you think? And I don't know. I just noticed it. Sorry, my notes are running. It always does when I'm down here. Did you? I think Bruce Willis stole his whole persona off of Mickey Rourke in this movie.
Wow. Interesting.
Like
Wow.
it seems to be that beaten down cop that he used in Die Hard, which I think was the same year. Maybe it was 88. I can't remember. 87, 88. I think it's 87. But anyway, that Die Hard cop, his same persona in um, The Last Boy Scout. It's just that Mickey Rourke, the way that he portrays himself in this movie, I feel like I'm watching Bruce Willis. Yet, like Bruce Willis emulated Mickey Rourke in this, is what I'm
I
saying.
I could see that now that you mentioned it. I didn't think about it at the time. He seemed very familiar, and of course I know who Mickey Rourke is and stuff. So, but I'm like, wow. Now that you mention it, I can see this.
Yeah.
Wow, it's crazy.
The nuances, the way that he holds a cigarette, everything. It's like
Wow.
it's like now again, Die Hard again, assuming that it came out. Like I'm almost positive it was no, it was 88. It was a year later.
Okay.
So interesting, because I mean, obviously Bruce Willis had been acting up to this point already, with Blind Date, Moonlighting, and other shit that I'm forgetting, obviously out of the gate, not
Sure.
whatever. But I'm just saying, it's just interesting when you see the movements and the portrayal of the detective that Mickey Rourke does. It screams like it literally is Bruce Willis in all the movies I mentioned.
That's crazy, man. That's cool. What an observation. Fuck, you're like a private dick yourself.
Well, look, just a dick. It would be interesting if it was like, oh, you're on crack, or no, I could see it because
Oh, I can see
it
it.
was one thing that I noticed right away from his portrayal. Because I hadn't watched this movie since I was a kid, like since probably back in the 90s,
First
like when I
time.
got into horror movie, like end of like very earliest 89, but I would assume it was in the early 90s. That's when I saw it.
This is what's crazy. That this is my first time watch, and that I've always, always, always wanted to watch it. Because at the time, we knew about this prior to it coming out because of the Cosby thing. Because of Bill Cosby in his being vocal about the decision for Lisa Bonet to make this movie and to do some of the things in the movie that she did. That I remember that being the story and that being what led to the um led to it being pushed like in the forefront where it was like a thing, like people were talking about it. So I remember being interested, number one, because of that, because I had always had a thing for Lisa Bonet. Now you have to flash back to the time, 84, 85, whatever the Cosby Show kicks off. She's 5 years older than me. So, so I'm whatever. I'm 12, she's 17 or whatever. So, I mean, it's perfectly reasonable for me to be crushing on this girl. And I continue to. And then by the time this comes out, I'm 14, 15, and I'm like, Lisa Bonet gets naked. I'm like, what? Holy shit,
Yeah.
I got to see this. I'm just jonesing to see it. Of course, I don't go to the theater to see
Jonesing.
it. And it wasn't marketed as a horror movie to my knowledge. I don't remember coverage in Fangoria. I don't remember it just, I don't know. To me, I guess with Cosby's name being attached to it, it would seem to me like in the title and everything, that was just more some type of boring, dramatic thing that was going to have, some sexual situations in it. This is just what I thought. So I never rushed, but again, I've always owned this movie. I've always wanted to watch it. I never sat down and watched it. I'm so glad I did now because wow, fucking
Yeah.
Angel Heart, man, this is my type of flick because of what happens, because of the reveal, and I'm questioning things a few times. But then when it all comes out in the wash, I'm like, okay, that's why. Because there was a point where I'm like, what a real good freak, how good this guy is at his job that all of a sudden he goes to this place and he makes all the accusations. He goes, no, he goes, you are the one who's into Satan. You're this, you're that. And he freaking names off like three things that he just came to himself in what he was doing. I'm like, wow, he's really good at what he does because us as the viewer aren't really privy to it, at least not in my experience. And I'm like, he came to this conclusion based on what? And he figured out, I'm like, wow, he's really good. And I wasn't able to accept that. But then when we get the other reveal and I'm like, that's why he knew because things are coming back and it would only make sense. And he's being toyed with. And holy shit, talk about a freaking a stinger times two with the freaking with a
Yeah.
Twilight Zone thing. And then on top of it, ultimately, which almost makes you feel bad now because then you find out that's his daughter. And I'm like, holy shit. Now think about what you did with your daughter on top of it. And now all of a sudden, all I'm doing this movie is watching this freaking beautiful woman at the age of 20 in the prime of her life, just absolutely stunning, Lisa Bonet, and everything that goes on in that amazing
Epiphany.
sex scene, which is great because it's her and how great she looks, but then the blood rain at the same time. So
Yeah.
this is aspiring to me as a fan of, as just being a red-blooded freaking, heterosexual male who happens to be really into this girl, always has been, seeing this, and then the horror fan in me seeing this other stuff going on at once. And I tell you what, that just like all of a sudden made me like, all of a sudden I'm crushing on this woman, this whole movie. Then in the final frames, I'm like feeling a little skeeved out about it because of the father element now.
Yeah. Well, it's
Boy,
crazy. I mean, it's a crazy reveal. There's so much revealed
boy,
there that, at the end. I, I, I was trying to think as I was watching it. They give enough. They give you a good amount of hints through it. I'm wondering if there needed to be more. If they needed to play back on the flashback a little bit more. I'm not sure. And again, the movie's the movie that we've got. I always, but this is what I do is like what would I had done differently? Because I'm like, did they give us enough hints? But I was so blown away by the reveal. Having seen it, I remembered one thing. One thing is really what let me rephrase it. Two things: the sex scene, and that Robert De Niro was the devil or Lucifer, which is his name, which he just does a playoff from it, which is funny. That was all I kind of remembered, and I couldn't remember any more of the story elements. So it was like really watching it for the first time again, and I was just like, wow. So very much like you, I was like, what's going on here? Like, what this building to? And if you're not used to, like, I think this is a very Alan Parker thing too. He might just throw you into a flashback, and you're not even aware you're watching a flashback necessarily right away. And then you're like, wait a second here, why are we in 1943? And then I like, did you find that, like, or did you know right away, like, like, oh, we're in a flashback right now. It's like almost like they switched to it without giving you any indication that you're in a flashback or in some sort of memory or you're in a loop or whatever it may be. Because story wise, we don't know what the hell's going on quite yet.
I don't remember a flashback scene. What did they flash back to?
To New Year's Eve, 1943.
Flashback to New Year's Eve.
Where he's pulling him around and he turns, he's like, who is that guy? Who's the guy? And whatever, and you to find out it's him and whatever.
You
But
mean
like
in
we're
the
just
climax?
yeah, but no, but before we're at the climax, we come to this scene in 1943, but it just cuts to it. So like I'm just saying that's the style that this director has gone with is it's like he doesn't necessarily spoon feed it the movie to you, which some people are going to love, other people might not like. I have no problem with it. I just wanted to see, like you didn't even remember it, so obviously you didn't have a problem with it. But there's a part where he's on the phone and he just cuts right to this flashback sequence in 1943.
I guess I realized it was a flashback. But it wasn't jarring to me. I guess I'm too used to watching Saw movies with the climax is there and everything's a flashback. I'm so used to watching flashbacks. I don't know. It didn't really. I didn't have any problems with it. I probably realized it was a flashback and didn't think, oh, because why would it not be? It was because they were showing other stuff about the past too. They were showing it was like I said, it was almost like a Saw ending. They were showing little pieces of the puzzle and what led to this. So similar type of thing, I guess. So no, I was along for the ride. That all worked, and I was just again, I was still kind of blown away at the result because when De Niro is there, all of a sudden, which great job by the way. This is what I think about De Niro. The more I see,
I love that too.
I see him doing this, and I see him doing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and then I see him doing what was another movie that was kind of out of character for him that I saw. There was a third
like Awakenings. There was. Are you talking horror specific, or are you talking?
No, not horror specific. Just not in his regular wheelhouse, like that I would have thought for the late '80s, early '90s. Just some of the things.
Awakenings would have not been in his wheelhouse either. That was his when he's at the disease and the I think Robin Williams and him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Awakenings.
Either way, I appreciate him more. Oh, Cape Fear. Okay, I appreciate him more as an actor, seeing him do these different type of roles instead of being kind of typecast in all the stuff I've ever watched with him. For the most part, outside of the comedies later on in life, that I'm not talking about Meet the Fox.
The gangster movies.
That shit. But I mean, yes, as anything from Raging Bull and onward and all that time. Even the stuff like in the 70s with Scorsese, with Taxi Driver and whatnot. I see Bobby D there, but I see more of his range in a movie like this, in that Frankenstein, which a lot of people don't like, but I watched it for the first time last year and I actually liked it, and his performance, and he really went for it in this. And the other one I mentioned, Cape Fear, which he's just half hysterical because he's a loony.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see his range as an actor, which I don't think he gets credit for, honestly. But I think he was really taking all. I think
he did back in the day. Whenever I thought, at least growing up, whenever I thought who were the great actors, it was always De Niro and Pacino that seemed to come up in De Niro, Pacino, and Jack Nicholson. Those seemed to be the three actors that always popped up.
And here's the funny thing. Those three actors, who I love them all, I've heard criticisms of them always being the same, always doing the same.
Pacino just yells his lines. That's what I always hear.
But not always. He does. He's good at yelling, but I mean, we've seen Pacino do tons of stuff. But still, they always say that they're playing the same part over and over again. Nicholson, De Niro, and Pacino. And I'm going to disagree with it. I mean, I do see Nicholson in certain ways, but I've also seen Nicholson do other things too. So I don't know.
As good as it gets. Yeah, we can go down a whole rabbit hole of that. But there, again, I agree. Like, I mean, it's a nice. It's like he's not even a star. It's also like a special appearance by Robert De Niro. That was interesting because he's in the movie enough to be. I guess maybe because he was a big name, it wasn't like something that you would want to say and Robert De Niro. So maybe that's why they put special appearance by. Because he's in the movie, like a secondary character.
Special appearance by?
Special appearance. Mickey Rourke, top billing.
Okay.
And then it was Lisa Bonet and whatever. And Lisa Bonet doesn't come in until like almost an hour into the movie.
Yep. 51 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm waiting. Where the fuck is she? This is me the whole time. Where the fuck is she? Finally, she shows up, and it was worth the wait because when the first time you see her and everything else, and then she's washing her hair, this woman is just fucking absolutely stunning. Their
And did
characters,
Mickey
the
Rourke
shit.
get to fuck everybody in the 80s?
Right?
I mean,
Oh,
Kim Basinger, Lisa Bonet, the girl from
some
Wild
of the
Orchid. I
best.
can't remember her name. Like
Kim
he was just in
Basinger.
every. He was in like in the. He was in the R-rated fuck films of the day.
Wow, right? Good on him.
Nine and a
Good
half
on him.
weeks, Wild Orchid, and Angel Heart.
Whew, no shit. Yeah, good on him. Wow. That's good stuff. Who was the one that started with oh, what was that other one? Oh, whatever. It'll come back to me. Anyway, when he sees De Niro there in the closing moments, for a minute I'm thinking him, wait a minute. You bamboozled me. You did the killing. For a second, I thought about being on board with him, but I'm like, but wait a minute. How come he's not acknowledging that De Niro just kind of wasn't there a minute ago and you walk in this room and he's just sitting there? That to me, now I know where this is going. That was it. I'm like, okay, no,
Yeah.
no, no, buddy, you're wrong. So I'm glad they could have made it cheap. They could have made it a different
Yep.
type of movie where he just swerved him and he was the one that did the killing, and now you just got this mystery thriller fucking with this down ending or whatever's gonna go with it. But throwing that into it, and of course you have this religious icon through the whole film. You have all this stuff going on involving the chickens and involving voodoo and involving these rituals and stuff, which isn't necessarily evil, but just like any religion, there's a good and there's a bad side to it. Just because
Well,
they are doing the thing with the chickens and the eggs, typically in that stuff, that is good witching. If it's something that's practiced, and I don't like the chicken thing, I get it, but that is not something that's done to summon evil. That's more, it's a different type of sacrifice to keep evil out. You know what I mean? So you see this, you could take it two different ways, and then they have the chicken claw and this other shit. So, but again, in that thing, it's almost like Muslims. You have the sects and this and that. You have the regular, you know, Islamic folks, and then you have the extremists. That's how it is with this type of religion, voodoo or things like that, Santeria and different types like this, old school. Again, this reminds you a little bit of the skeleton key in a way. So the skeleton key, you kind of know earlier on that we're going straight horror based on some things that.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's more in your face. This is definitely more subtle. You give this to the script as well as the direction. And Alan Parker, I think, wrote the script based on a novel. The novel name is, I
Yes,
think, Falling Angel, which
I think so.
maybe does that. I mean, it's a great title still, but does that give it a little bit more of give it away a bit more? Is it already?
Well,
Does it? Angel Heart is a little bit more. I don't think that like screams the ending. Fallen Angel, when you have that title with the ending, I'm wondering if it's too much of a hint or like too much of a spotlight on it. And to
well,
maybe changing that.
it,
What were you gonna say? Well, too. Sorry,
well, no, no,
I don't know
no.
if it froze up.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. It's been happening this whole show, so I just been waiting. I usually hear what you get the gist at least. So it can be taken a few different ways. His life is in jeopardy, and he's finding this out, and he's getting deeper into it, and then he finds out, I could be pinned down for these murders. I don't want to be in the electric chair. My life is in jeopardy, but at the same time, he's getting this extra money, and he keeps going deeper and deeper into this world. It's getting scarier. You could take Falling Angel as a different type of ref, like he's falling from grace. He's
Yeah.
falling into the depths of fucking. You don't have to take it in that form. Ultimately, I think it becomes a clever title. But I think if you read a book, there's not going to be any hint at it, and you're just going to say, okay, this guy's last name is Angel, and etc. I mean, this is
True. I
what he's
guess if
falling
you're from a
into.
book, yeah,
Uh,
you're right.
and
I think at that point you still don't know. It's just a title. So yeah, correct. I think, and they play off of it like what's in a name. I mean, we mentioned the more obvious one, which they reference straight there, and he even
right,
almost makes a half joke or a full joke out of it
right,
about the
yeah,
Lucifer
yeah,
uh, reference, and his name is Harry Angel. Lisa
Harry
Bonet's
Angel,
Epiphany. Yeah, but like
Epiphany.
there's stuff with there's like weight to the names as well.
Hmm?
So I like when a movie does that, and you know, back then it may have not been quite a bit. Well, I guess they were always doing that in film. There was always supposed to be something to the name of the character to
Sure,
to be more than just a name. But I think not every movie does that per se. But I think
of course not,
a good script and a good there will be something to the name that you've given the characters as well.
for sure. And
Should be some weight to it.
I enjoy the ride we're taking on, how we're following him around just as a regular movie, not in talking about horror, just piecing together what's going on here. I like these kind of movies. They're cool, and now it adds to them when it becomes horror. When they don't, I'm just like, okay, whatever. But this is what I like, taking elements of something like that I can dig in a regular film, but not as much. But when you add the horror spice to it, like it spices the word. It spices it up for me. I'm like, okay, now this is more my kind of movie than a regular pieced together mystery thriller. You know what I mean? I really dig that shit.
And an
Now horror
adult
movies
horror film
like this,
too. It's
right?
not made for. This is not a made for kids. This was an adult horror film. Remember, we've
Right.
had these arguments about there weren't in the 80s. It shifted. The tone shifted from like the 70s being horror movies for adults for the most part
Mm-hmm.
to now the boom of the slasher and taking a date to the movies to go see a horror movie and and jumping and whatever and that aspect of it, and that's really what the movies became in the 80s. And I'm not just even saying from the horror genre for that matter. I think like a lot of them just tend to, like, we have the teen sex comedies, the slasher
Yeah.
films. It just seems like we focus on that, but you do forget that there were still movies like Day of the Dead being made, Angel Heart, Hellraiser. These are not necessarily, and Angel Heart's
Believers.
different from that. Believers. These are different than
Yep.
the ones. That's not the only examples, but they definitely separate themselves from the ones that were made for the teenage audience
You're
for
right.
the
I
most part.
think I think it's a product of this particular time. Like I think the early '80s, like maybe like '80 to '85, there was mostly that slashers and different stuff. I think kind of what we started to see in the early '90s when things became psychological thrillers and Silence of the Lambs and Cape Fear, which I consider them both horror. That's fine, but I mean, this is almost like the preface to that. Like, okay, there's horror movie at the theater. We're getting a lot of kids in there. It's a popular thing. How can we work into some more adult things since horror is hot? Why don't we try to, you know what I mean? See what we can do here. And plus, some of that stuff was dying out, although it's tough to say because in '88, that was the big year of the horror freaking the sequel. That Halloween,
Yeah,
that Nightmare 4, we had all this stuff going on still. So that was still going, but it's kind of winding down. You know what I mean? So I think that it was just progressing to something else because there was a little dwindle going on there. But hey, let's get people in. So this is a good time. That's what I'm saying. Hellraiser, it's different type of horror, and it wasn't just that. That's why '87 is such a good year because you have a bunch of different things factoring in here, a bunch of different
yeah,
subgenres. I
for
just
sure.
dig
I
it.
mean, and we had entries from the big slasher genres as well. Both, I think this was Dream Warriors and um, now was this the year that Friday took off and
Well,
went to 88?
'88
I
was
think 7. I think it came in 88. New Blood
well,
for Friday
'86 was
13th.
Jason
But
Lives. Yeah,
so I think there was a year in between.
there was a year off. New Blood
Yeah.
didn't come out till '88. Yeah, because I think every first year, because '80, '81, '82, '83 for the first. No, 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 I'm wrong. '80, '81, '82, '80. They took a year off there. In '84, Final
Yeah.
Chapter
Final
came out.
chapter. Yeah.
There was no '83. '85 was New Beginning. '86 was Jason Lives. They took '87 off. They came back with '88. Yeah, isn't that interesting? A couple years. Of
89.
course, it could have been
But
by the month thing. You know what I mean? Could have just been by a couple months. But still, it was going in a different direction. And this is really, I can't believe that she's only supposed to be 17. Yeah, and I go, wait a minute, I know that she's over 17. Look, you know what I mean? So I went back and she was 20, so that I don't have to feel pervy about it because
oh,
I
in
know.
real life, yeah, yeah. I think that was just her
Right.
character. Yeah, that was yeah.
Right, but I'm like, damn, they
But
sure. All of a sudden, they make her so sexualized. She's normal. She's at that thing. I mean, you can tell that she kind of likes him a little bit, and he likes her. Basic, stuff. But then all of a sudden, she shows up in the hotel room, and the way she starts talking, and everything,
well,
it's such a strong scene. I'm like, wow, this girl really wants something. But then I'm also thinking, I wonder why. Is it just because she just wants to break it off? She thinks he's hot, and that's the end of it, or is something at play here? Because you could think there would be, and we don't know about her because there's this whole thing just a put on in his mind. Like, is any of it real? You know what I'm saying? Is this all just a trip or not? How about this though? Did you notice the girl behind? You're not gonna notice. I'm really into the movie. Well, when he goes to the cop station in the beginning, he finds out that it's ballpoint pen and not the and the nurse there helps him and aids shows him that file and aids him to go someplace else, and then he goes to that doctor's house, and sees that he's on
yeah,
morphine and all that shit.
yeah,
Did you
yeah, yeah,
notice
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the girl behind the counter who was the nurse?
No, I didn't.
And I'm not surprised because she probably means nothing to you. But it's fucking Zarabeth from freaking Witchboard. That chick.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I didn't recognize that at all. But I
I
like
didn't
those
think.
little tidbits of, like, Jeff from Friday 2 is like the cab driver in Dress to Kill or whatever it is. Like, I love those little things where you're just like, hey, they're from.
Yeah.
So I throw it out there. I didn't notice shit, but throw it out there. And I
Yeah.
want to say this movie doesn't get talked about. Someone mentioned that they
No.
would like us to talk about it because it doesn't get talked about, and I agree. It doesn't. It definitely deserves to be seen. Just don't be expecting horror out of the gate in a traditional sense. It builds as part of the story and develops as part of the story. So as the story develops, so does the horror, and that's the best way to describe it. The best
Yeah.
way I could describe it.
No.
So
It's great. You won't regret your time with it if you really should see it. But how about that animal scene? It was definitely funny. That one fucking scene with when. Well, it was sad that the horse died. I think the horse died. But doesn't he
oh
shoot
yeah,
the horse? The
yeah,
horse lands on him. The
and
dog comes at him to
yeah,
fucking attack
yeah,
him. And the way the horse kicks the dog is funny.
yeah,
But then he
yeah.
runs away in the other room and all those chickens come at him and he's kicking at the chicken. It's so funny. Oh, God.
It is, and
It's the only funny moment, I think. And here's a question. When they showed that woman being baptized, do you remember when he comes across that scene and there's a woman being dunked underwater and that group is there? Is that the same woman that was on the beach that told him, the guy's wife that was in the ocean, that said something about, oh, you got to go to New Orleans. She moved back
oh, she's
there.
like, well, she's not. She doesn't really like the water, does she? She's like
Right,
that one.
her.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can't
Okay,
remember. To be
her.
honest, Dave, I can't remember.
Okay.
I didn't just watch it last night. I watched it a few days. Like I watched it Thursday, I believe. But still, it's not. I'm not remembering if it's the same woman or not.
That's okay.
I remember what you're talking about. I just can't remember if it's her.
I think it was her, but why would she be there? But I don't know. See, maybe there's something else to the story. Oh, but then
Yeah,
again,
again, just in the.
how do you take the movie? But we could go deep in the woods on that. It's hard to. Is the whole thing like a simulation, or did all this happen? Did Toots get a dick shoved down? Well, yeah, he did because we find out who did it. So I guess it's not all a simulation. So okay,
Well,
now
like, what is it? Is that's exactly it. The revelation happens. I don't know why I said that's exactly it. It's like my and again, or whatever.
amazing,
Like my lead into the next point. It drives me crazy. Trust me, when I have to edit this thing, I want to slit my own throat. The but when the revelation is this like him having to relive this over and over, or now that he's come to the revelation, is it done? And because really at the end of the day, like this, we gets thrown into it to kind of relive the fact that this has all happened and this happened, and it's almost like he's been lost since 1943, or he's been out of it. Correct? Isn't that what it sort of is? He's gone like into a mental state and became somebody else,
well, he
or
did.
or
He did
thinks
a
he's somebody
switcheroo.
else.
We know what he
Well,
did.
yeah, in 1940, but that's what happened in 1943. So why is this like now that's coming out in recent in 1955 is when the main story takes place, correct?
I think
Um,
so. Yeah.
why? So this is what I'm saying. Like, what is it? Like, he's not dead yet. He's not dead, but it's like, is Lucifer just trying to break the seal and saying like, now you're going to see yourself for who you are?
I don't know that. I think he knew what was going to happen, but I also think he tracked him down. Wanted to do it this way.
Okay.
I don't know. They see again. Maybe I gotta watch it
That's
again and come
that's
to.
the part. Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm like, wow, this reveal is great, but that's the question that now comes out of it, is that we've got this reveal, and it's sort of brutal and answers the questions of what he's been doing from an investigation standpoint. Like, what a crazy premise. Like, you're kind of investigating yourself in a sense,
Yeah, crazy.
which is great, but I just now need to know, like, so like Lucifer made him see, like I guess led him down this path to be able to figure out who he is and why. But yeah, what was the end game for it?
Well,
Like,
hold
that's
on.
what am I missing? Like, what am I forgetting? I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't think you're forgetting anything. You could either take it as it's like a Shutter Island reveal, right? But from a different perspective. He's not trying to make him better. He's allowing him those 12 years just to fucking make the fall that much worse. Because now
Okay.
he's lived these 12 years this way, eventually forgetting where he came from and thinking that he's Harry Angel and this is this and that, and I've moved on and this is my life, and I get by in these cases and I'm doing okay. And he's gone so far that he forgot, almost like that episode of the Twilight Zone with the mannequins who go
You,
out. Well, think about it.
I don't remember the Twilight Zone, but yeah, keep
Okay, well, there's an
like
episode of the
like I said.
Twilight Zone, and ultimately, each mannequin is allowed to go to have a week off from being a mannequin and go out in the real world, right? But they're supposed to come back after the week. Well, this particular mannequin forgot to come back, thought she was human, stayed in, and then got sucked in. And the reveal was at the end, she gets approached. Well, she gets brought to them. They actually lure her back, and it's scary because it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Climb off it, they tell her. Climb off it, Marsha. He goes, you know who you are. And then she has to come to the realization, oh, fuck. I forgot. That's what's scary about it. I forgot I was a mannequin. I got to come back. Oh, my God. But I think that's what happened here. I think, but that was just done because of an accident. But I think that Lucifer himself is letting him live out this fantasy just to be more evil, just to fuck with them, and then say,
Yeah.
okay, now,
Okay.
now it's falling angel. Now you fucking, as opposed to it just happening like right away. Because he could have done it in 44 if he wanted. Instead, I think he let him live fucking 12 human years and then said, okay, now we're going to get this mother. That's what I think. That's what I
Okay,
like.
I know, and that's great because that kind of answers my question there and makes it even more sinister in a sense.
Yeah, yeah. That's how the devil works. I kind of dig that theory. Who knows if it's true? Maybe you read the book. No?
Or watch the movie again. Again, I have no problem. That's the good thing about it. It's one of those that I think you could pull a little bit more out of on repeat
Yeah,
views
buddy.
as well.
I'll
So
probably watch it with my wife and daughter. Well, maybe not the daughter. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, Lisa Bonet is, oh my God. And her daughter, too. My God. Zoe Kravitz, you've seen her. I mean, what a
oh yeah, in some recent movies, yeah.
love her too. So I want to say one quote that he says in the church, which I love. This is De Niro, Lou Cipher, saying, talking about religion. He goes, "There's just enough religion to make them hate each other, but not enough to make them love." I fucking love that. That speaks so well about religion and politics. Period. There's
Yeah,
just enough. It's supposed to
it's
solve
funny.
all the problems. It makes everybody hate each other, but not enough for everybody to come together and do what this was created for. It's food for thought. I like, and
Yeah,
the
it is
devil,
a great line.
the devil would get off on something like that. It's like he's happy for it. He's like, yeah, my plan's coming to fucking fruition here. You know, everybody's killing themselves and everybody hates each other because of religion, as opposed to what it was supposed to do. You kind of dig that. But man, what a
Awesome.
movie! It blew me away. I'll wrap mine up. I fucking loved it. I loved it. Special stuff, man. It's 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
I really
and
enjoy it.
that's awesome. And yeah, I'm 8.5 out of 10.
Nice.
It was I was hovering around that 9 range too. Again, I would probably have to see it again, but I want to watch it again. This is one that I feel like, yeah, you know what? This has been forgotten in a sense. Forgotten Angel. It should be the title.
I know it has been forgotten.
I
It's
want to
sad,
watch The
but
Believers again now. I want to watch The
me too.
Believers because I was like, wow. It just when you sometimes when we have these like polls of the year, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I would have loved to do The Believers. Would have loved to do Near Dark
Yep.
as well. So like, well, Near Dark, I feel like I don't even have to watch. I've watched it so many times uh,
Nice.
as a kid that like I don't need to. Um, and really, the only time anybody has a problem with that movie seems to be with the resolution of him becoming human at the end again. That seems to be the big problem with that everybody has with the movie. But
Yeah. Well, speaking
anyway,
of endings, besides ending the podcast, I'm going to say this: the movie we talked about way back at the beginning of the show, which was whatever that movie, who will survive, See No Evil. See No Evil. Finally, I got the kind of movie I wanted. That is the Dave Z movie. It's something I've always wanted to see. So for that reason alone, it's going to be memorable for me. That is my kind of movie, beginning, middle, and end. A simple premise that you never see. I always wanted to see it, and it happened. So I'm happy about that. Just wanted to say that. I didn't say it earlier, and I'm like, yeah, dig it.
Brandon nailed it on the head. He said you would love it.
Well, I don't love it. 7.5. I mean, I dig it. I definitely, I
Yeah,
love the way it wrapped up.
I
But I'll say this: the very
I'm
end.
also talking in extremes as I usually do. He said it's a Dave movie. I think that was his verbiage.
Oh, maybe he did
Yeah.
say that. But I'll say this: I'm not going to have a problem with the very, very end because of what happens to another character shortly before that. I think some people just felt defeated and just kind of let themselves go with it. But again, there's a whole other theory, and it's because people that are from foreign countries, because Jamie was talking about it yesterday in text, are different than people in North America. And
Yeah.
it's kind of seen a certain way. But that's a whole other thing. Not to get to the beginning at the end. But one more thing before we go. Did you watch your Friday 4K yet?
No, I haven't. It's up
Me
there.
either.
It hasn't
Okay.
been opened. I
Okay.
want to. I I
Tomorrow,
I,
no,
I
tonight.
want to. Just it's been so. Yeah, it's been crazy. That brings me to the other thing about Speak of Evil. They travel with that kid. They travel with them. They explain what the disease is. This kid can't write. This kid can't tell people what the fuck's going on. Okay, he can't speak, but he can fucking sure as hell write. And then on top of it
They're
all,
not going to let
that
him.
oh,
Why
they
would
can.
they?
That seems to be another one of those plot conveniences. The kid has plenty of time. He's by himself in his room. He can't say, "I'm being held captive. These are not my parents. I have no disease. My tongue was cut out. My tongue was cut out." That seems to be a major oversight. He has no chance to run to any help anywhere.
Maybe it
Yeah, he can't
happened.
go. But like, I mean, I get it. Like, you could explain it here and there, but by putting them on this trip and then the more I talk about it, the more I think about the movie. In this case, other than I love that ending, the more I could poke holes in it. Nobody
I
around
can
town, like, that's
solve
what
it.
I'm saying. Okay, well,
Maybe
we'll have to
this.
do. Yeah,
I'll say it real quick. Maybe this happened before he was of the age of reading and writing. And obviously, they're not going to teach him, given what's going on. We don't know when his tongue got cut out. Could have been fucking
yeah,
3 years ago, before he can do any of that.
true.
No,
And
we
then
don't
they
know.
just get rid. They get rid of them, and then no one in town. Like, there's going to be questions that needs to be answered
I
down
think
the
this is a
road.
big syndicate. That's my thing. Is
Yeah,
that ultimately people are
crime
in on it.
syndicate, rhyme syndicate.
Rhyme syndicate, Ice-T. We start off with Snoop Dogg, 187, and we end with Rhyme Syndicate, Ice-T. Nice.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Anyway.
Let's get out.
Yeah, I still think that there are holes to be plugged. I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed the movie, but
Fair.
there's a lot of yeah, a lot of questions that I think you could drive like plot size holes through.
Which is now which is why it's a 7.5, which I can only go so high. It's not going to be on my
Yeah,
top end, maybe the tail end. Who knows? We'll get there when we get there with our 22 or 22, or
yeah,
22.
man.
So,
Shots.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Let's go.
thank you everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Exactly. We love you, and keep doing what you're doing, and do what makes you happy. That's it. Manchichi, Manchichi.
You say